Welcome, guys and gals, to another fine show. Show us, don't tell us. Good heavens, another episode indeed. However, unfortunately, Michael, our off and on engineer guy, he is busy doing some other things, and he's dealing with some. And I hopefully he will indeed join us just a little bit later on tonight in the show. However, we do indeed have Papa that's currently engineering the show. And we have Mr. Peter Kling, that Peter Kling guy. Otherwise, there you have it. And who knows what direction, we don't have a show subject in any way, shape, or form. And we will indeed successfully move along in a switching of the gears.
Anyway, yeah, this is Show Us, Don't Tell Us on the LNM Radio Network, latenightinthemidlands.com, lnmradionetwork.com. I'm Papa Bear, and Peter Kling, you're going to hang out with us for a little bit tonight, huh?
Yeah, a few minutes anyway, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Good, thank you. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Yeah, if I do the whole show, I'll probably wind up being a zombie in the morning. No, sometime in the afternoon.
That's all right. Hey, we can do that. We don't have to live with you.
Yeah, I know you don't. What can I say? The dog does.
Right.
But anyway, it's always a pleasure being here, being able to speak to more folks and bring more truth to the bear. You know, I love when I talk about things and then we are actually able to start to see them happening. And a lot of, you know, in this world, things happen and we forget about things that happened yesterday, last week, last year. And we just kind of go on with life looking for the next thing to happen, hoping it, you know, happens on our time scale or, you know, in our time frame when we want it to happen. And it usually doesn't. Right? Yeah, it usually doesn't because we spent like a whole 20 years in an I want it now society.
Well, it's a push button world, right? I mean, they kind of geared us up for this by watching the Jetsons when we were kids.
Yeah, you know, it's funny how many times I actually think about that as I'm on the computer. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I got to hit the mouse. I got to go click on that. And then I got to go over here and re-click on that. And then it goes to, wow, what a pain in the butt this is.
Yeah, it's a push button society. People want to sit on the couch and use the remote control, right? They want to join college, but go in the first day, get the diploma, and come home. You know, it is.
Jane, I had to turn that button off and on 3 times today. I'm exhausted.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, when I was a kid, remember the television? You turn the TV on, you had to wait for it to warm up.
Yeah,
right.
At least 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, because it was tubes, you know, everything had to warm up and the power had to go through it. There was just so much sag in there. It was crazy.
Yeah, and
well, not only that, when you shut it down.
Roll. You remember that?
Not only that, when you shut it down, you said, "Can you guys hear me?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure. Not only that, when you shut the TV down, you had that little white dot that you watched disappear.
Oh, yeah.
And after the national anthem at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever, with the flag flying, either that or you had the Chiefs hat that covered the screen. And then you began watching the so-called maggot races, I tell you.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a boring movie about Indians.
the maggot races. That's when the rabbit ears weren't quite right. Or you get the flipping picture, just kept rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. You got to adjust your vertical scroll, up or down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting how far we've come with technology, but along with that, we've brought all these things into our lives, and I can't really say that it's so much consumer driven. I think back, you know, I spent, after I stopped playing with chemicals and started dealing with people, I spent almost 15 years in the communications industry. And I started with cellular communications in its infancy when you had to install the things in your car. You didn't have a choice. Right. And, when they came out with texting, I thought, geez, okay, I can understand why you might want that feature, but if I've got to communicate with somebody, why wouldn't I just call them up? Because that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
Right. It's a lot faster.
Yeah, and so now I got to send somebody a text, and back then, if you remember, let's see, it was 222-3333-4444-5555.
Yeah,
it was like
times you wanted to do it, for whatever.
Yeah, to get to the right letter. Yeah, and I had to sell this stuff, and I'm thinking this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and how do you sell that, man? You have to sell the stuff.
Unreal.
Yeah, and now the wild part of it is, now you can't dig a kid's head out of a smartphone.
Yeah.
They're all buried in a smartphone, all texting away. And what I thought was ludicrous, almost ludicrous once upon a time, is now so commonplace, it's part of our society. And it wasn't that long ago.
Right. Oh, yeah.
We're talking about, less than 20 years ago.
Wow. Like
20 years.
Yeah,
they were great. You had a 3-watt phone.
They were expensive.
It was all expensive.
Just the call time alone was expensive. It was like, 25 cents a minute or something? And it's like, wow. It's nothing you really want to carry with you.
Let's go back to the dial phones. Good heavens, the best way to dial a phone a dial phone was with a pencil, right? And it always sucked. If you screwed up one number and you missed, you had to hit the receiver and start all over. Not only that, the party lines.
I used to like? On those old rotary phones, they put in that dial lock right in the number 1 so you couldn't dial out with it.
Okay, right.
That was a joke. We used to trick that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they put the lock in. Oh, you can't use the phone. It's locked up. Oh, yeah, I can use the phone. And you tap that that receiver. You tap that button as many times as you needed to dial whatever number you wanted to. It was like a pulse. And it worked.
But Papa, man, those party lines. Now, Peter, you remember the party lines. I'd be over at my buddy's house. I had to call home. Hey, Mom and Dad, I'll be a little late for dinner. Get on the phone. There's 2 gals chatting. I hang up. And I look at my buddy's mother, who's German. I mean, she was the German as German could be. English was spoken in the house, and less an argument broke out. Then I went straight to German, right? So I pick up the phone. Oh man, you're still on it. 2 gals chat. You can sit there and listen to the conversation. I don't want to hear this crap. But man, the party lines, and they had the dial phone party lines. Oh man, the kids nowadays have no idea. And those were the fun days. That whole 70s decade. Carry on, fellas.
I used to do telemarketing, and I called a town with party lines. I'll tell you, it does not take long to find out they have party lines.
I only had to deal with party lines once, actually, because for the most part, I was living in the metropolitan area. But when we moved down to North Carolina, and we finally got a phone hooked up, it was a 6-party line phone.
My God!
Well,
wow.
The good part of it was
part? Really?
Well, we lived in a community where most people weren't there, but there was this one family, and I mean, they lived down into what became the pasture, and that's all it takes. Yeah, I mean, I would say trailer trash, but that would be a step up. I mean, I went over to see him one time, just neighborly thing. And here's this little kid about 3 years old, and he's got a mouthful of chewing tobacco. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, right.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the banjos to come out, I'll tell you. But yeah, that was kind of culture shock. because I was living in an upper middle class neighborhood, and we moved down to the mountains of the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina, one of the most beautiful places in America. I'll tell you, I've been all across the country, and you really have to get up into the Canadian Rockies to equal the beauty that you start to actually see.
See, the people down there, the guys, they don't like to be called hillbillies. They like to be called mountain men.
No, let me explain something, and this is no offense to anybody who might live in the mountains now, but when I was back in the mountains, they were hill people, and hill people have a totally different way of thinking, and you got 3 levels of Yankee. You see, there's the Yankee that comes down to visit, and then there's let's see. One comes through. One's just the tourist comes through. One comes down and builds a summer home, and then there's the damn Yankee that comes down and lives there.
Yeah.
So I was the damn Yankee, and it's interesting. You know, I grew up outside of New York City in the New York metropolitan area, and you know, Civil War was something that I read about in the history book. I got down there, and this Civil War was something I was still living. Seriously.
You know, in New York City, tucked around there, you'll find a monument to a war that happened there.
Which war?
I didn't realize the Confederacy reached that far north, unless it was 1812 with Ross and his boy.
No, there was an attack right there, and I'd have to look that up again.
I know that the furthest attack during the Civil War, I think, was up in New Hampshire. There was a prisoner of war camp there, and if I recall my history correctly, they escaped. The Southerners escaped and reattacked the prison there. So that was the actual furthest north skirmish during the Civil War. But that's a whole, you know, one of the things that we're facing.
That's a big can of worms, because it was Massachusetts that made slavery an issue, and it was the only state that made it an issue.
Well, you know, yes. The Civil War, or what we call the Civil War, the war between the states, that was all based on propaganda. It was all for fake news, the same as what we have now. Right. And slavery was never the issue. Never the issue. Mm-hmm. It was made the issue by, guess who? The Rothschild-controlled media. Right, yeah,
right.
The Bank of the Second Bank of America had been driven out under Jackson. And what they did is they still controlled the media, and they had banking relationships with bankers in New York and Boston. So even though they didn't have an official bank here, and wouldn't until 1913, they were still doing business by proxy, essentially. So there was still very much involvement back in the 1800s, the same as there is today. It's virtually nothing has changed. And so we get all this, as the president calls it, fake news. And if you're watching ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, whatever news outlet is there, you're watching fake news, listening to fake news. This is about as real as you're going to get right here on the L&M Radio Network.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the War of 1812, when the ships were coming in on Fort McHenry, the English pulled the plug too early, and that was a good thing for us, even though we know better now, but that's another story. They pulled a plug. Behind Fort McHenry was loaded with gunpowder. If they would have hammered that fort, it'd have been done like a dinner, and they gave up. They pulled the plug. There you have it. Carry on.
It was a war that was financed by the Rothschilds. They financed the War of 1812.
They finance every frickin' war. They don't care as long as they have the money.
Both sides of it.
You know that.
Well, they were boy, we can get into some really interesting history, because it was actually Russia who came to the aid of the United States during that time and set up a blockade around the country to stop European ships from supplying the South.
That's right. And it was Russia that used to guard our west coast before we established a navy and took over on the west coast. But yeah, Russia and the United States were allies for quite a while.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize, what kind of relationships were established between governments 100 years ago. I'll give you a good, for instance, Africa today. You know why there's so many problems in Africa today? Go back and look at a map of Africa from 1914 or right around 1900. Yeah. It was all colonized by where? By Europeans.
Britain.
Well, no, it wasn't just Britain. It was several different countries owned several different land masses in Africa.
And if you check your history, you'll read about British Hong Kong, too.
Yeah, well, the reason why Britain got Hong Kong was during the Opium Wars.
Uh-huh.
And here again, Queen Victoria II made approximately a third of her income in opium. Now, you got to remember, opium was legal back then.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't in China, because the Chinese emperor saw that 80 to 90% of the people in Shanghai and Hong Kong were addicted to opium. And so he outlawed it and closed the ports. And then the English Navy rolled up, blew up the blockade, opened up the ports, and kept on supplying them opium.
Mm-hmm.
So what's different? Nothing has changed in 150 years.
The only thing different is we're getting our opium from North Korea and Afghanistan.
There you go.
But we're still getting the opium. It's still coming in.
Yes.
And not only is it coming in, but it's being distributed in a lot of ways right through the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, boy, we could start there's a whole show right there, because in a nutshell, the pharmaceutical industry turns around and gets everybody addicted to opiates, and then they cut off the supply. And so now these people that are addicted actually find out that they can get cheaper heroin on the streets. And then the heroin gets laced with fentanyl, and then people overdose in it. And it's like, it's... Boy, I've heard so many statistics on drug overdoses, but approximately somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people in every state across the United States died last year of an opium overdose.
Think about it, Pete. I know 3, including my nephew. I know 3 that OD'd on that crap.
Yeah.
One person.
They use it as a
3.
spray. They use it as a spray for cancer patients because it's like a miracle thing for the pain. Well, no kidding. You get enough of that stuff, it'll kill you.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much when they give it to you, when you're on your way out.
And in some cases, they're inducing it and suiciding people with it.
Not only that, but that really, that Oxycontin, that reduces or inhibits your bowel movements on a continuous and regular basis.
Or an irregular basis.
Now, those products have gone through the roof on the street. Huh?
I couldn't, well, I can't tell you what the price is now, but it was like, I was hearing prices for the generic opiates that $25, $30 a pill. Are you serious?
Yeah. Depending on the milligrams, of course.
Oh, yes, naturally, but still, that's insane. That's insane. And I think, that the few times I actually had a standing prescription for them because of different injuries that I've had across the way here. But my knee doctor, my orthopedic surgeon, had a standing prescription. All I had to do is call him up and he'd fill up a prescription. Now, it wasn't that I was addicted to these things. Right. A month's supply would last me about 3 months because I hated taking them.
Right.
Basically, they just made me itch. It made me itch and they made me nauseous. So I had to be hurting pretty badly to take a stupid pill.
Right.
And I'm just glad my body doesn't like that. Doesn't like that stuff. But anyway, regardless, it's so many people just do get addicted to it.
And then when the state tries to rehab these people from it, they stick them on methadone, and then they don't try to wean them off the methadone either.
What's the difference? What is the frickin' difference?
Exactly.
That's like control. That's like a so-called controlled difference. Carry on, Peter.
I was just going to say, here's the difference.
They don't try to wean them off it.
No, it's symptomatic for a bigger problem. And it's a problem that was really created under the Obama administration. People saying, huh? Yeah. He essentially dismantled this government, and people lost hope. And when people lose hope, it's very easy for them to start to kill pain. They don't want to feel the pain anymore. So whether it's having a beer or popping, having a cocktail or starting to abuse alcohol or cocaine or heroin or whatever it might be. It could be food. It could be gambling, whatever the case might be. All of a sudden, we direct our attention to do something to make ourselves feel better. And we're driven by two things. It goes right back to the most basic things that drive us, and that's pain and pleasure.
Right.
And we will go out of our way to avoid pain, and we will go to extremes to attain pleasure. And so now, if we have a life that is filled with pain, and we believe that, if I take this little pill, it's going to make all that pain go away. The problem is that little pill leads to addiction, which leads to, if it doesn't lead to death, it leads to a lot of other serious social impacts, which create nothing but mayhem, not just for your life, but for the effect that it has on your family and loved ones. And so this black hole is created within you because why? You no longer had a compelling future. So the number one thing is have a compelling future. Try to build a compelling future. This world sucks. I got so many bills. I got this. You know what? There's a lot of things we can't ignore. But if we focus on the things that we can change for ourselves and help change for others, there is a way out of any kind of mayhem in which we may find ourselves in. But it's all done by visualization and planning our future, building a compelling future. And sometimes building that compelling future might be just having a reason to wake up tomorrow. I remember.
Fellas, real quick, hold on, Pop. Going back to 1983 when I was at Cleveland State University and my major was psychology. Now, there's something called a definition called the pleasure principle. And that definition is pleasure now, no matter what the price is. Carry on, Papa.
I'm drawing a blank.
Well, then, Peter.
Well, you see, when you live in an I want it now society and now you want to have pleasure, you're looking for instant pleasure.
Right.
What are you going to go do to establish that?
It's done. Well, you can an anxiety can only be obtained to a certain extent. Now what's next? As the bar has elevated at that point in time. Now what's next? Just from what I understand, when you do heroin the first time, it's unbelievable. But however, there on out, good luck. You're not going to achieve that same first hit ever. Unless, and the problem is, I've seen documentaries, and they don't care. People that do this don't care. It's like, well, if I die, I die high and I pass over. Really pass over to where? Where are you headed? Really? Well, fill me in, Phyllis. You if you're going to OD, where do you feel as though you're significantly and also welcome? You tell me.
Yeah, I never did heroin, anything like that, but I remember losing my virginity.
I hope you weren't jailed.
Did you pass over to the other side?
Hurry up!
Did you see God?
All right. Yeah, you won't get that again.
Yeah.
There's it's time to shift gears. We're gonna go down a wrong path here.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna go down the wrong rabbit hole.
Hey,
Anyway,
throw that roadmap down the hall. We'll go from here. Take it out, Peter.
well, it's all part of the society. Here's the thing. And this is one of the things that Trump is focusing on is having people having meaningful jobs. What are you going to do? Sit home all day and watch Jerry Springer and I don't know what else. I haven't had TV for 2.5 years, so I can't tell you.
You're like,
what are you going to do? Just watch TV during the day, or be on the computer?
Sit at home and scroll through Facebook posts all day. Yeah.
And say, I wish I had the money. You get your welfare check or whatever it is, and that's degrading. You look at it as a safety net. I remember the few times I had to go. I had to go collect unemployment, and it was like, especially the first time.
Degrading. It's degrading.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, okay, well, what happened with your job? You got to file the claim, and then you got to be looking for another job, and it's like you got to go back and report, and it's, did you do this? Did you do that? And it's like,
You're thinking through all this, man.
I remember getting discharged from the Navy.
And at the same time, you're still trying to raise a family here, and you're looking at where your bills are getting piling up, and then it's like, and then sooner or later you don't care.
And as you sweat while you're sleeping, what's bad is when you're sleeping, concerned about what you have to deal with, and you break out in a sweat while you're sleeping. You're screwed every freaking time. I've been down that road, done it.
Yeah, and now I've got to build a compelling future from this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, you do. We do.
I remember when I was a kid, I got out of the Navy, and when I came out, someone asked me if I was going to collect unemployment. And I said, what? I said, well, yeah, you're eligible. You can collect unemployment benefits.
It's offered to you.
I said,
take advantage of it.
No, I'm not going to collect unemployment.
No.
Right. I'm going to get a job. That's unemployment. No.
Right.
No, it was
collect it in the meantime, and then get a job.
Back then it was a matter of pride.
I was going to say that we had some pride left to us.
Yeah, pride. Yeah, pride will screw you out of money, but I understand that. Carry on. Yeah.
It was a matter of pride. It's like, no, I'm going to pound the pavement and I'm going to get a job, and I did. I got a job.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked a lot of my life. Believe me, they weren't the best paying jobs, but I worked. Day and night, I worked. I was a workaholic.
Yeah, I got to the point later on it was the end of that career anyway. When I was still in telecommunications, I was literally almost playing Santa Claus when I was delivering cell phones on Christmas Eve.
Really?
Yeah, I was in a snowstorm. Literally, it was snowing Christmas Eve, and there I was out. I had like about a half a dozen cell phones that I had to deliver that evening. Now, people had gotten them for Christmas presents for their family.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing. So, yeah. I didn't dress up in the suit. At least not in the red suit anyway. I did have my business suit on because that was my business. So, even then, it was a less complicated time than what we have now.
Oh, yeah.
I look at my own life, and the last 20 years have just been absolutely remarkable. Talk about a tremendous amount of change.
When we were kids, schools didn't look like prisons, you know what I mean?
Well, they almost have to look like prisons to keep the kids out and keep the kids in and the shooters out.
Did we lose skills?
Yeah, Windows updates. I gotta love them. Behind the scenes stuff that'll put the kibosh.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, they always come at the most convenient time, especially when you're on Skype.
Yeah, right.
You know, it sits there all day long. You don't use it. You go to use it, and all of a sudden there's an update for you. But, you know, yeah, we live in a very difficult time. Having a reason to get up in the morning and go to work is great. You know, have a reason to get out of bed. And if you don't have a job, what's the reason to get out of bed? You know, feed the cat, feed the dog. Take for a walk.
Well, with me, it's because I just can't lay there and sleep. You know? I just can't lay in bed. I have to get up and do something, even if it's just drink coffee and scroll through posts. You know.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying about that. And you know, get your rest and then get on with the rest of your life. But here's the thing. We have to make time for ourselves, and we have to make time to plan for our futures.
Right.
It's just that simple. I don't care what you're doing. If you love your job, if you hate your job, if you don't have a job, if you're looking for a job, if you don't want to find a job, we still need to plan for our future. And if we have a compelling future, working toward that, whatever we can do to work toward that a little bit each day will make us happy.
You mentioned a future. Legislation, from what I understand, has been drafted to convert back over to gold and silver. Okay? Which means your Federal Reserve note's going to be out. Everything's going to be revalued. Now, remember the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and such? The claim
I have.
The claim is that the cabal was using such cryptocurrencies to move money as a way to hide it. You know what I mean? So that's how they're going to get. That's how they're going to get caught. Okay, it was their way of moving money, kind of a safe haven for it. Well, the thing is, something's got to get cut. Something's got to change. The value of Bitcoin is back down again, right?
Dramatically. From
Right.
where it was.
So I'm thinking once the dark money is gone from it, or gone from the system for the most part, everything is going to balance out to where your Bitcoin is going to be wound up backed by gold. 1 Bitcoin will be 1 ounce, and so on. You know what I mean? And people will have the option to go either electronically or with their cash.
You know, I'm not sure exactly how this is all going to play out. I'm sure that somebody has thought it out. If you've listened to Winston Strout, he says that they got to go to plastic. You know, we're skating on real thin ice here, Barry. We really are. And it's not so much the draining of the swamp and getting rid of, you know, people like the Rothschilds and Soros and those who've... Well, we think they're gone.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Popped the cork.
Yeah, well, they've been exposed for what they are, and we're gonna have to see how this all plays out. But here's this just may not play out the way that we thought it was going to play out all the while, because there's a few interesting prophecies which are still hanging out here, and I can see it turning this way. With putting the military in charge, and this isn't just the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This is a worldwide takedown. If you look at, there's actually a list that's out of people in prominent places, many of them CEOs of major corporations.
Resigning,
yeah. And the list is well over 1,000 now, or at least close to 1,000. Yeah. And it's from around the world, different places. There's even the ambassador to the United States to ambassador to North Korea. I didn't know we had an ambassador to North Korea, but obviously we do. He resigned. He's on that list.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of Republicans who are not coming back. They're not going to seek re-election.
Yeah, and we know why. They're either going to go away or get a free ticket to Cuba.
You've got people like Darrell Issa. He's not coming back. He's not going to run for re-election. It's like these people know what's going on. Somebody knows something, you know. And a lot of them are just backing out. You're looking at 28 seats that are going to be vacated by the Republican Party. I mean, that's, wow, it's unheard of.
Yeah, I wonder how many by the Democratic Party. But regardless, it's going to be change, and the military's going to be in charge. So what does that tell you? Yeah, exactly.
Well, it tells me, it tells me a lot of things, and
here's where we go to the prophecy in the latter half of Revelation 13. It talks about this two-horned wild beast that looks like a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon, and it is given the power to perform miraculous works. It can even call down fire from heaven. Let's see. You mean like as in an atomic blast?
Right.
Yeah. That would literally be calling fire down from heaven like we did over Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Right.
We talk about Dresden and Hamburg and other cities in Germany that were burned to the ground as well through incendiaries. So we could add the UK into this two-horned beast that always wants to talk peace, but actually brings war. Now, it's this two-horned, and this is called the false prophet. No, it's not the Pope. It's not any religious figure. A beast is always a government. Horns are kingdoms. Very simple. It's standard biblical prophecy procedure. And it starts that way right from the very beginning. Kingdoms are kingdoms are beasts. Governments are beasts. Kingdoms are horns. So you've got this lamb-like beast with these two horns that breathe life into this image. They make this image first, and then it breathes life into the image of the wild beast. Now this image of the wild beast is a seven-headed, 10-horned wild beast, which replaces the United Nations. Okay. Right. If most of the countries are being run by a corrupt cabal, and you've got Russia, China, and the United States working together to sink them, to get to pull their plug and to replace that system, what are they going to replace it with? And remember, the military's in charge.
Right. Well, China and Russia have already declared gold and silver backing again.
Yeah, so the United States has to follow suit, which means that exactly what you said, goodbye Federal Reserve. So we're going to have to see how all this plays out. And that's one of the reasons why you want to stay liquid. Eventually, we may have a bank holiday. Let's hope that we hear very little about this over the next coming months. But I have a feeling that, eventually we're going to hear some pretty high figure names being talked about as being arrested and for one, child trafficking, child pornography, something of that nature.
Exactly, and the rumor is that the Pope has a surprise coming in May, next month.
Oh, without a doubt. I wouldn't doubt that whatsoever. And here's the thing. If you've wondered where this deep state came from, it's funny. I posted this on my Facebook page. I had very few responses to it. I don't think people knew what to do. But here's the information. The deep state was planted by the Knights of Malta, who are controlled by the Pope of the Vatican.
Right.
Ronald Reagan, Knight of Malta, George H. Bush, Knight of Malta, Bill Clinton, Knight of Malta, George W. Bush, Knight of Malta, and Barack Obama, who was not a Knight of Malta, or Barry Soetoro. It was not a Knight of Malta, but he had a letter of endorsement from the Knights of Malta.
And the Skull and Bones Society is right there with them.
Yes, and so here you've got this long line of implanting the deep state since Ronald Reagan on behalf of the Vatican. The Vatican has had control of the White House, and we saw that clearly in 2015 when we saw the Pope speaking at the Capitol. And John Boehner broke into tears and resigned, probably the only patriot there because he knew what was coming and didn't want to be part and parcel to it. And then we saw the Pope at the White House laughing and befriending his stooge Barack. And then where did we see the Pope? right at the foundation of America, right at the separation of church and state. He was standing right at Independence Hall, telling Americans what we needed to do.
Yeah.
So come on. All three places, he was telling Americans what we needed to do.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a country that was founded on separation of church and state. It's not under church. Oh, yes, not anymore. It was under church and state up until the point of where we got President Trump. Now, remember, when the Pope spoke in Congress, only the Speaker of the House resigned because he did not want to be part of what was to come. So everybody else in that Congress that sat there listening to the Pope and did not resign is complicit with the Vatican's control over the United States.
Okay.
And every other country, because they're all incorporated, and the mother of all corporations, guess who, is the Vatican.
All roads lead to Rome.
All roads lead to Rome. Yes, not all roads lead to Epstein's Island, but all roads do lead to Rome.
That's right. That's where all the control is, the religious control, first and foremost. But that's where the laws are written. All the laws are written from the Bible.
Yes, you also have the P2, the P2 Masonic Temple in Rome, which is supposed to be the most politically connected and strongest Masonic temple on the planet. Supposed to be. That's where all the big decisions get handed down from, allegedly. So all roads do go back to Rome.
And it's yeah, I lost it.
That's okay, because here's the thing. What's happening right now, what Trump is doing right now, is he is fulfilling his actions, but what is going on. 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, the exposing of the man of lawlessness. And this man of lawlessness sits in God's temple and sits in God's throne, making himself a god.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Really? And so let's go fast forward to Revelation chapters 17 and 18. And in chapter 17, it talks about an eighth king. An eighth king coming to power, and its main focus is to destroy Babylon the Great, to destroy religion. So that would include essentially Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, along with all the other religions of the world. And it's been part of the UN agenda for quite some time. They started working on this back in the 1955, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
55 or 57, they started working on a one world religion.
Mm-hmm.
And what they came up with is part Buddhism and part American Indian spirituality. So this way they would have a passive group of people who would care for the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's their ideal of if you need to be religious, there's your new religion. Indian spirituality, Buddhism.
I don't think Trump is going to go along with that.
No, I'm just thinking about that. Maybe that's why they're making the claim that, Jesus was really a Buddhist monk, so it's okay to become a Buddhist. No, Jesus was never a Buddhist monk. He never went to India. He never left Israel or his homeland of what was Judea at that time. The only non-Jewish person he spoke to was the Samaritan woman at the well. There's nothing else documented, and it would have been. The one thing that is believed, and this isn't documented either, but it's believed that Jesus was part of the Essenes, which were very they held to the Mosaic law very strictly, which means they would have shunned anybody else who was not Hebrew and Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he came to fulfill the law, not to replace it.
Right.
And if he didn't keep himself pure and fully comprehend the Mosaic law, he could have never fulfilled the law. So no, he never went to India and studied with Buddha.
Right.
Hey, go do some research on the Shroud of Turin. That might change your opinion if you don't want to believe me. And there's some great new research that's out, even to where there was a little plaque put right at the throat area of Jesus, which has come through on there, the holographic imaging, which says Lamb.
Oh, yeah?
Interesting. Yeah, they've actually been able to pick that up. It says Lamb in Aramaic, which would have been the language of the day.
Right. Yes. Right.
So, and with all this, I did not see the movie The Passion of the Christ, but I've seen lots of images. And as brutal as Jesus was beaten in that movie, that is actually pretty accurate in what he endured in real life.
Yeah.
And they jumped Mel Gibson like there was no tomorrow. Come on, really?
Yeah, Mel did a good job on that. When you look at the evidence on the Shroud of Turin, that image showed lots of brutality to the body. Lots of brutality. So
he was unrecognizable.
He was flailed, and a flail was essentially a handle with a lot of lines coming off of it, either leather thong lines, and within those pieces of those strips of leather, they would embed metal or glass. And so when they would flail somebody, those little shards of metal would rip the skin. Yeah, so it was pretty nasty. It wasn't just like he was whipped with a leather whip. He was flailed, and flailing usually involved metal in that whip, or, as I said, sometimes glass. Glass would have been a lot more precious, but something that would rip the skin.
Right.
So they ripped they ripped him right down to the meat with that instrument. So yes, that was an endurance that no man should have to endure, and no doubt he felt that pain perfectly. So, yeah, that's a humbling thing, and yet we take that holiday. Here's one of the things, Barry. We take the two biggest holidays on the planet. Well, actually, the third one is Halloween, but that is what it is. But we take Christmas and Easter, and we start lying to our children using those two holidays.
Right.
Oh, Santa Claus is going to come and give you gifts. And then about, depending on how kind your parents are, they burst your bubble sometime between the age of 5 and 10, depending on how intelligent or what you can grasp.
Yeah.
And they tell you that Santa Claus isn't real.
And you might have heard something about baby Jesus was born in that time.
Yeah, and that's not real either. Jesus was born about the 29th of September, which really, it makes 2015 an interesting year, because not only does it end with the Pope and the post-2015 development agenda, which the United Nations adopts, but the meeting of the United Nations where they adopt the Pope's agenda ended on the 29th of September under a blood red moon.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of history. The last of the tetrad blood moons. And that was something I said in 2010. Watch the dates 3/13/13 and 4/14/14. 3/13/13 is when the world got its first Jesuit pope. 4/14/14 started the tetrad blood moons, which were full or total lunar eclipses, all on Jewish high holidays. It was actually Passover and Rosh Hashanah, so that those blood moons fell on. Very, very rare event. Very rare event. And people probably have forgotten all about the blood moons. Nothing happened. Oh, well, wait a minute. What did I just say about the Pope being in America's holy places? Did you miss all that?
Right. And now we're expecting a crossing. Another eclipse that's going to pretty much mark an X across our country from where the last one went, and that was going to happen in 2024, right?
This might all be over by then.
And I think yeah, I'm thinking so too.
You know, I thought it would have been over before this, but here's live in hope. I thought we would have been well to the other side by now, or at least in that direction. Well, we are in that direction. But there's a scripture that says that the closer we are to the end, the brighter the light gets. And so we have a greater understanding of things. And you see, the end of this system of evil couldn't come until the man of lawlessness was exposed.
Right.
Yeah. And so now we're actually seeing this.
Which is going to happen here in another month or so.
Yeah, it's this whole lawless upper class that's been ruling over us. Yeah. And go back to the Knights. I said the Knights of Malta. We know by history the Knights Templar started there was supposed to be this poor order of knights, couldn't even afford they had to put 2 riders on 1 horse, like that would work. But that was it was 2 riders on 1 horse. In other words, they had the same agenda, but they came from different parts. And so you had the start of the Zionist-Jesuit relationship, even though they weren't Zionists and Jesuits at that time. So you had the 2 riders on the 1 horse. But in 300 years, the Knights Templar became the second most powerful entity in all of Europe, only next to the church itself. And they started to enslave kings, and that was their underdoing. Right. They enslaved kings by lending them money. Yeah. Gee, imagine that.
Right. All right. Hey, we've got a break here.
There you have it.
There you have it. We're going to take this break, and then we're going to come back. This is Show Us, Don't Tell Us on the L&M Radio Network. I'm Papa Bear, and of course we've got Skills and Peter Kling, and we'll be back.
Let me assure you that our priority will remain to ensure stability and security.
In order to ensure the security and continuing
stability, security for Canadians.
Galactic Empire!
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Attention L&M Radio Network listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the L&M Radio Network by calling 605-562-4203? No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 605-562-4203 to listen to the L&M Radio Network on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Brothers at Arms is not about being militant, though there is a time and place where that is necessary. Brothers at Arms is not about arguing, though there are times where things may get heated. Brothers at Arms is not about who is right or wrong. There are many sides to each issue. Brothers at Arms is about exploring those sides, about dealing with the issues facing us today, about coming together and, through opposing views, understanding the deeper truths that are in the middle. Join Ira Robinson and Joe Long each Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LateNightInTheMidlands.com as these Brothers at Arms discuss what you need to know. Brothers at Arms, it's about time. Have you been looking for answers? Have you been seeking the truth but can't seem to find it? Late Night in the Midlands has the answers for you. Whether you are interested in the paranormal, aliens and UFOs, alternative health information, or just a little hope and inspiration, we have a show for you. Late Night in the Midlands, The Secret Teachings, Open Eyes, Red Pill Reality Show, Brothers at Arms, and many more shows. All here on the L&M Network for you to listen to at any time that you want. Everything is free to listen to, and though it is not required, we are listener supported, and all donations are deeply appreciated. You will not find shows like these in the mainstream media. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com to listen. The L&M Network, where the truth has no fear.
This is TJ Sanfilippo, host of Navigating the River Styx. Join us each and every Thursday night at midnight here on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Together, we will traverse the forbidden waters of the paranormal, the occult, our hidden history, conspiracies, and things that dwell in the darkness and the deep. Come, grab a seat by the fire away from the night that is closing in. I have tales to tell you. When the clock strikes 12, I invite you to join us here on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Until then, stay safe.
The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of latenightinthemidlands.com and help us help you.
And we're back to Show Us, Don't Tell Us on the L&M Radio Network. I'm Papa Bear. That tune there is by Skill's son there, I guess, his oldest one there. And, yeah, that's done by your boy, right, Skills?
Absolutely, man. It's how ironic. Well, I didn't get a chance to hear that song, but yes, Joshua, my oldest boy, had made our theme song about 7 years ago in one of his other fine songs called Movin'. He had created at the same time. And anyways, very good. I can't wait to listen to the replay. I want to hear that song again. But welcome back, guys and gals, to another fine episode. Show Us, Don't Tell Us. We currently have Papa Bear Engineering. Unfortunately, Michael Bayhouse is now, he's not currently with us. He's out. He's feeling a bit ill, and he's out with the family. But, however, we do indeed have that Peter Kling guy. And we have a caller on the line. Anyways, back to you guys.
Take it away, guys. Pick it up where you were at the break here, because you guys were flying a mile a minute when I come back from the break. It's like I could almost hear it in your voices, like, "Oops, we're back on. We're back on."
Oh, I think that was the polite standby. Let them cue us in.
Oh man, I love the way this is engineered. I have control over all the audios. It's great. Anyway, we've got Jesse Bennett with us. JB, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourselves, guys?
Not bad, not bad. We were, during the break, yakking about what's going on with the cabal and this, that, and the other, and I told him I was going to kind of discuss this a little bit. Are you familiar with the QAnon posts?
Not specifically.
Not specifically?
A little bit. No, I've heard a little bit.
Okay, all right. So somebody did a write-up. There's kind of a sarcasm thing to it, but the points are kind of there. All right. The title of this is "The Conspiracy Theory That Says Trump is a Genius." Okay. This woman, I don't. Her name is Michelle Goldberg. All right. She works for New York Times. And I don't know, she's got one of those haircuts, like those one of those I've seen you on porn flicks haircuts, that cuts off at the neck and the back. And well, anyway, all right. This is what she wrote up. She says, last week Roseanne Barr, who with the hit reboot of her show has become one of the most prominent Donald Trump supporters in the country,
I can't wait to hear this. Carry on.
Yep. Yeah, tweeted that the president has freed hundreds of children a month from sexual bondage. Quote, he has broken up trafficking rings in high places everywhere, unquote.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Barr's tweet, puzzling to the casual observer, was a reference to QAnon. An expansive, complicated pro-Trump conspiracy theory is what they say. Okay, it's not really, but... The theory is fascinating as an artifact of our current political derangement, but more than that, it's profoundly revealing about the lengths to which some Trump supporters will go to convince themselves that his presidency is going well. I like it already, right? As Paris Martineau explained in a New York magazine, QAnon was born last October when someone claiming to have Q-level security clearance started a cryptic thread on 4chan, an online message board and troll playground. Troll playground is actually anonymous members, right? Anyway, it was titled "The Calm Before the Storm," a phrase Trump had recently used, right? Q posted hints, some in the form of questions, ostensibly meant to help clued in Trump supporters understand what was really going on in Washington beneath the facade and chaos of incompetence. Like, questions like, what is military intelligence and why go after the three-letter agencies? Okay. From these clues, a sprawling community on message boards, YouTube videos, Twitter accounts that has elaborated an enormous and ever-mutating fantasy narrative about the Trump presidency. In the QAnon reality, Trump only pretended to collude with Russia in order to create a pretext for hiring Robert Mueller, the special counsel, who was actually working with Trump to take down an inconceivably evil and powerful network of coup plotters and child sex traffickers that includes Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and George Soros. QAnon points out that this is the beginning of the end for the Clintons, said Jerome Corsi. You guys are familiar with Jerome, right?
Yep.
Okay. A prominent proponent, of course, of the lie that Obama was born in Kenya. Gotta like this stuff. He warned that the world would be forced to contend with the films of innocent children pleading for their lives while people are butchering them. Once that happens, presumably, Trump will be revealed as the master of a 12-dimensional chess who successfully distracted smirking elites with his buffoonery while he was quietly saving the world. I like the way she dramatizes this and makes it all sound fake, right? Anyway.
Satire.
Satire, yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, this is pretty much what it's all about. And then you've got Sean Hannity, who's retweeting posts using the hashtag QAnon, okay? But what gets me about this article, after all was said and done, okay, that in the Q post, they referenced this article, and Q also mentioned that it was funny, or it was surprising, that they actually consulted the White House before printing this story. So I guess he's somewhere pretty close in there. But anyway, this guy, David Seaman, he was doing some undercover work. He had a YouTube channel. His got shut off, right? And he did the battle and did all that stuff. Well, he said the sealed indictments are now unsealed and the arrests have coming. 24,544 sealed indictments, okay?
Seeing is believing, carry on.
And, well, yeah, you know what? I said that too. But what happened was the Mueller investigation, somebody leaked about the whole deal, the facade thing we were just talking about, right? Somebody leaked it. So now they have to go off script. Everything has changed. The plans have changed. Everything has to go faster. All right. And since that happened, the sealed indictments were brought out. And this guy here, he said he would have never believed it himself, except he saw the list physically with his own eyes. He popped a bottle of champagne, and he says, I'm celebrating. I no longer have to do this anymore. And he says, they can't stop thousands of us. The pedophiles cannot stop the will of the people.
Right.
And it's, I mean, it is. It's a pedophile cult. It's a pedophile cult. Remember, that executive order had to do with human trafficking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Human trafficking and conspiracy. And conspiracy is an extremely wide paintbrush.
Yes, it is. It is. And anything can be called conspiracy, right down to planning a birthday party. Come on.
Well, they outline within the executive order, and this is the executive order that Trump issued on 12/21/2017, things that would fall under that realm of conspiracy, like using your government position to make personal income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, who hasn't done that?
Let's see.
Done that?
Yeah, who in Congress hasn't done that? Let's see. Who in the former State Department hasn't done that? You know, and here's
John Bonabingo or whatever, maybe him.
There might be a couple of people that are still, honest. But here's the thing: when I look at, and I stay out of the political arena, commentaries as far as I get, but I've known Trump, not personally, but I lived in the New York metropolitan area most of my life. You're gonna hear about Trump, read about Trump. He was almost constantly in the news for 40 years, regardless. Everybody loved him. Now everybody hates him. What happened? Oh, he became president.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, everybody loved him. all these people would schmooze him and hit him up for donations and want to be his best friend, and then he became president. Everybody wants to stab him in the back. But here's the thing. Trump is smarter than the vast majority of people in Congress, especially the lady from California who thinks you take an IQ test by peeing in a cup.
Yeah.
Well, Petey, he's a businessman, for God's sakes.
Yeah, he's a businessman, and he's in a room full of politicians. He's playing at a totally different level. It's like
they're not used to it, Pete. They're not used to it.
Yeah, it's like where can I find the study materials for a urine test?
Right?
Yeah, but he's proven them all to be complete imbeciles. Like Peter said, Maxine Waters. I mean, if somebody asks you that and that's your response, you got to really just pause for a second and just be like, did she really just say that? And she
tweeted it. She literally tweeted it. I had to go check the tweet. Somebody posted on Facebook. I was like, nah, she can't be this stupid.
And she is still spelling it wrong.
Right. But it's like, you have to really look. These are the people that we think are, quote unquote, putting our best interest in mind. Like, no, they're not. They're not even that smart.
Yeah, but are these people actually elected in? I mean, seriously, are they elected? Like Johnson?
You got to think it more like this. They're going to bring in people who are going to be yes men. They want people that they know that will keep the shit going, keep the money coming in.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. You got guys like Johnson sitting in the Congress worried about Guam capsizing because too many people are on one side of it. I mean, are these people elected in, or are they just appointed? How does that work?
They're appointed.
What's the difference anymore, right?
Pretty much.
So somebody like Soros comes along, gives them a pile of money. They dump it into the advertising. They go down to their all the underprivileged people that they represent, and they say, "We're going to get you more in your checks and more public housing.
And
we're going to keep you enslaved to the system. We're going to keep you poor, stupid, and dumb."
Yeah, and then they want to modify the voting system up here in Maine where it's first choice voting, okay, which is totally unconstitutional. And it's like, you know what, it doesn't matter what you do. It's all going to be unconstitutional anyway. They're running a business.
Oh, hold on. What exactly does that mean, man?
First choice voting.
First choice voting? Well, it means according to how many people are on the ballots and how many votes that come in for them. You know, it goes according to how many votes they get, not just being there. Not certain. It's kind of funky the way. You know what? I really didn't research it because I don't participate in it. Okay, it's got nothing to do with me. What does have something to do with me is the way they run their business. Okay, I'm not a politician, and the way they're running their business really affects us. The thing is, like myself, I've separated myself from that business, so I'm no longer under its jurisdiction, but it does affect what's around me to some degree, until people wake the hell up and realize it doesn't pertain to them.
Well, this is kind of like right in line with what I was saying before. It's no longer going to be run as a business. It's going to be run by the military. It is being run by the military.
Well, at this point, it has to be.
Well, yeah, because none of these people could ever go. Yeah, it's a cleanup of a coup.
It's a cleanup of a coup. That's
almost like an oxymoron to a certain extent.
It's a cleanup of a coup that started in 1932. Well, 1913, but 1933, right?
And what happened in 1933?
The Federal Reserve Bank.
Well, yeah, you also had FDR came with his New Deal.
That's
and,
right,
the New Deal. 1933, you had Hitler come to power, too.
That's correct. And it all had to do with the banks. Ford put their motors in the Panzer tanks. We know all about it.
Yep.
And who runs it? Oh, Rothschilds, baby. Yeah.
And Prescott Bush was working for Brown Brothers Harriman. Averell Harriman was the governor of New York. And Prescott was funneling money
Papa's family.
Over to the Nazis. So he was actually taking care of the funding for the Nazi war machine.
Great grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Papa's hooked up with the Harrimans, baby. Yeah, buddy.
Great grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Take care, Papa.
We were brown until we changed the name back. I'm serious.
Yeah,
that's why my father's middle name is Brown. Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's your family, not mine.
And I got the headstones. Hey, you can't pick. Remember we talked about this? Who picks and decides what souls go into what bodies? Okay, and I'm talking RH negative, RH positive bodies. Who decides what souls go into those bodies? How are they picked and chosen?
RH negative, here.
Okay, so if that's the case, how was I picked and chosen to fall into the Harriman family?
Yeah. Well, the biggest issue, like we have chatted about, it's like, oh, why did this karma happen to me? It shouldn't have been coming my way. Well, however, your ancestors brought that karma on you. It's like, really? I'm responsible for previous bum situations, and I got to pay the price for this? Okay, I guess that's the way it is. Alrighty then, moving right along.
The only thing I know was that my family came here part of the colonization back in 1640. They were here before the Declaration of Independence and all their government structure was all set up.
Such as our patriarch.
I'm native.
1744.
Okay, my family is well traced. Look it up. All you have to do is Google it. Joe Bixby, 1640. You'll see it. It's pretty big.
That's going a little bit before me, man. Now, see, here's the cool thing. That's what's cool about doing this whole DNA scenario, and unless you can do research without going about that business. However, what's really cool is when I researched our patriarch, 1744, Hans Wilhelm Strader, came over from Germany on the boat Aurora, and I pulled up that the whole shipping scenario in regards to all the people that were on there. It's really cool seeing that.
And
he showed up here in 1744 and had a son, Christopher, in 1746, and then went on from there.
So you're native also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go, and you got a good record of it.
Well, yeah, a record. However, unless that I have my DNA, they don't have their DNA. However, it's all linked up. It's linked up.
Right.
But, however, if you were to say, hey, can I successfully prove this? I can't do that. I cannot do that.
Right.
At the same juncture, my family history goes right back to the Reformation. And it's not that they still wanted to start a new religion, but it was exposing the lies of the church. And how do I wind up doing the same thing today? And I only found out my family history 2 years ago. And here they were personal friends of Martin Luther. They supported him. They all renounced the Catholic Church together, and for that they paid the price. And that there was essentially over 250 years of war. The Catholic Church sent out their assassins to assassinate my family, and they scattered, shortened the name up, changed it, so they were less conspicuous. But one of the first family members to come to the United States was Philip. The two brothers, Philip and was it Peter? I forget the other. There were two. It was Kling and Schmidt. The only thing I knew up until 2 years ago, the only thing I knew about my family is that we made bells. We were bell makers, and I thought that was interesting that we metal workers because my grandfather and his brother were both machinists and knew their trade well. So it was still in the family. And interesting that they were Lutheran. Yeah, that face ring bell. They were still Lutheran.
Petey, you go from dough to steel, I tell you.
Here's the family history. I find it out 2 years ago, and it takes me back 500 years when all this started. How do I wind up repeating history 500 years later? And it's just like what you said, Papa Bear. You got the genetics. You're predisposed.
Exactly right. I mean, was this pre-planned? You know what I mean?
No, to a certain extent, man. You know, I mean, it's in you. And good heavens, no, you have the.
I'm the observer guy.
It's bred.
I'm the guy that observes and watches stuff, you know, and I catch habits of people and different things, this, that, and the other. I'm finding that
three of us.
I'm finding that the people with Rh negative factor blood, okay.
That's me.
These are the multitaskers. These are the ones that have no problem multitasking at all, okay. The Rh positive guys have a little bit of hard time, a little bit more trouble. I don't know what it is.
And why might that be?
I don't know, but there's also in the Rh positives that primal instinct. You know what I mean? It's the fight or flight type of thing. You know, and that is. I think that's the blackout factor in some people. You know what I mean?
Sounds to me like the iPhone and the iPhone 7. You know, like one's an older version and the other one's a newer, updated version.
Well, when we blacked out, our brains actually hit the state of gamma, which means that we like to vibrate, our brains, we like to have our brains vibrating in alpha between 8 and 12 hertz per second. Yep. Beta is the fight or flight response. That is from 13 to 35 hertz. Above 35 hertz, you go into gamma. And when you're in gamma, both hemispheres of your brain operate at the same time. And we can't, what happens is that the higher the speed, the faster the brain is vibrating, and eventually we're going to pass out. It'll overheat.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, that's when you have to explain the Schumann resonance.
Well, yeah, the Schumann resonance is the vibration. Yeah, the vibration of Earth. And for the longest time, when they first discovered the Schumann resonance, or when Schumann first discovered the resonance of Earth, it was at 8.73 hertz, I believe is.
No,
I'm sorry, 7.83 hertz. 7.83 hertz. It was vibrating in theta. When our brains vibrate in theta, generally we are asleep, we are in deep prayer or deep meditation. Now, about 5, maybe 6 years ago, the Earth started to jump up from theta into alpha, and then it went from alpha right into beta. Now, over the last 18 to 24 months or so, it's been going up into the gamma range.
Yeah, so essentially 20 hertz is audible.
Essentially, the Earth has gone from a sleeping state to a panic state. Think about that.
20 hertz is audible. It's very low note, but it's audible.
So the noises, the Earth is making noises that we are feeling, but we are not necessarily hearing because of all the other things that we hear.
That's
right. I wonder if that's sometimes those noises, those trumpet-sounding noises, or those metal grinding noises that people hear.
A lot of that,
the Earth moaning.
A lot of that is dubbed in, but most of it I see is coming from snowplow blades on ice parking lots. I'm serious.
Could very well be.
I watched it one day. My sister said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Look over there across the parking lot." And sure enough, he was pushing a snowplow blade across the parking lot, and it was doing making that same noise. The same exact noise that got recorded. And some are dubbing it in, some are not. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird thing. I don't know what to think of it because, CGI, and you know what I mean. There's too much electronics to make that stuff up, and I actually witnessed, snow plowing on ice and what that sound does and what it sounds like and such. So, I'm kind of iffy on that one.
There's a lot of things that get put up on YouTube. They get sent out. And it's like, okay, CGI, not CGI, somebody recording something. You just can't tell anymore. A few years ago, I had that was probably about 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I had a Facebook friend for a couple of years, and one day he sends me these pictures of Mars or something. That I believe it was Mars when the rover first went up, and he was like, "Can you see this animal here and that animal there?" And it's like, I don't see horses in the clouds and stuff like that.
Right.
And so I said, look, I'm really not good at this. I know somebody who used to work for Xerox. They're a copy expert. They decode a lot of this so they can run it through filters and whatnot to see what's really there. And so, and he writes me back. He says, I fooled you. There's really nothing there. I just made it all up. And I was like, dude, you didn't fool me. I told you I didn't see anything there. And it was about 3 or 4 days later. I see the same exact stuff on Before It's News. I was like, come on, serious. Yeah. I unfriended the guy and blocked him after that. I was like, okay, so he's listening to, and he uses me for a springboard, or trying to use me for a springboard to see if he can fool me on these, life forms that are in the rocks. It's like, okay, whatever you want to believe, you go ahead and believe. I don't see him. Yeah, and so it's like, there are people that just like to put out disinformation to confuse the subject matter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so we really have to use discernment in everything that we do. It's like I love people that watch 3 YouTube videos and think they're experts.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do that anymore. You may have been able to do that 15 years ago. Well, the internet was still fresh and there was very little disinformation on it when people were still posting good stuff. Now you got to sift through a ton of garbage to get to some actual accurate information.
Right. If you can even find it then. I mean, you have to search the internet to actually get anything that's really good. Fox is kind of there. I mean, they've been reporting on the stuff that's been going on with the controversy with the White House and stuff like that. But the rest of them, they run hot and cold. Yahoo, forget it. I mean, I might pick 1 or 2 good articles in a week. And I like Zero Hedge. But they're not in your mainstream. You know what I mean? They're not CBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC.
Well,
CNN is the worst. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. You want to know what they're trying to brainwash the sheeple with? Go watch CNN. CNN is brainwash network.
The thing is, CNN
CIA network news.
CNN pays to be in every airport in the country. Okay, they pay for that. So when they pay for it, it's going to be there. And this is what the people are exposed to in the airports. This is what they see in the airports. And come on, you've got people coming and going from place to place. What's the first thing they're going to see when they come into an airport? They're probably going to notice something from the television, And for those gullible enough to believe CNN, they're going to fall for that crap.
Yeah, well, people don't know enough not to believe it. And that's the issue, The people listening to us tonight know enough that, okay, 99% of the news, well, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, 90% of the news going out there is fake. A couple of times, maybe sometimes they get lucky. And maybe sometimes they decide to tell the truth. But the media has been manipulated for as long as there's been media. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much, whoever owns the newspaper, you're going to get their view.
That was whoever the whole idea back when the New Deal, right? But let's make sure there's a radio in every house. Everybody has to have a radio because radio was the way they got in touch with you. Okay? Well, Trump is using Twitter. It's a much better platform because he can post it well, right? And he really gets his message out. I mean, people can swear all they want and talk about how ridiculous it is, but I'll tell you, he's got direct contact with the people, and that is communication that the people appreciate, in my opinion. But that's just how I feel about it.
I don't tweet much, but yes, I agree with what you're saying. As a matter of fact, I don't tweet. Like you, I observe, and yeah, very rarely do I post very much from any news source, unless it's really pertinent. What I'll do is I'll use the news that news source, or when I start to see a trend in the news, when it starts matching up with prophecy, then I'll jump on it.
Right.
I always use prophecy for a yardstick, and as long as I do that, I'm never wrong.
I see that. Usually when I post something, I won't comment. I'll just share it. And I'll share like that, and I won't comment. Because my deal is, I'm going to show you what's out there, okay? I don't use what's out there on Facebook, obviously. But what I do is, I just share it, and I allow people to go ahead and put their own opinions in there. And every now and then I might respond to one of their opinions or something, you know. I don't like to get too loud because of the visitors I had just over a year ago. So I try to, you know, keep my jets cool.
Yeah, you know, once you run into a situation, well, I don't even want to go there tonight. That just past issues are past issues.
Yeah.
If they try to shut you up, or they're listening to you, or you're under investigation for some reason, yeah, you're striking nerves.
First of all, if they're listening to me, thank you for your listenership. I appreciate it. You know.
Yep. That's actually what I used to post on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I have this thing, like, it's like, well, what do you do when a cop pulls you over? All right. And my thing is, I have an obligation, I have a duty. Okay? If an officer needs my help, it's my duty to help him.
Right. That's how you have them by the short hairs. It's like, hey, look, you pulled me over. Is this a current emergency? I'll be more than happy to help you out. Carry on.
Exactly. I mean, you're using emergency procedure. There must be an emergency. Yep. I have an obligation to help you during an emergency. Right. What kind of help do you need? How can I help?
You throw it back in their lap.
How can I help? And go from there. I mean, if they think you're being sarcastic, they might say something. And at that point, it's, hey, I got Fifth Amendment rights. I'm not going to lose them right here on the street. So do what you got to do.
And here's the thing: if the first thing a cop will usually ask you is, "Do you know why I stopped you?"
That's right.
As soon as you answer that question, you have let him start the investigation.
Yeah, and when you answer that question, you answer it well. There must be an emergency. Your emergency lights are on. You're using emergency procedure, and you probably need my help.
Yeah. How can I help? If you answer it with a statement, or if you, well, I should say, if you answer it with another question, that nullifies his question. So as long as you ask the question with a question, he can't start the investigation.
Right. Like, am I under arrest? Well, what do you mean? You stopped me from where I'm going. I am under arrest. That's the definition.
Yeah.
Do I have a right to remain silent?
Stop.
Do I have a right to remain silent? I'll do that. Right?
Do I have a right to an attorney? Yeah, well, while I'm photographing you, I'm calling my attorney.
I have Fifth Amendment rights. I have a right to withhold any information that might incriminate me. And once I surrender any information, okay, I've also surrendered that right. I've lost it. I'm not going to blow that. I'm not going to surrender that right on the side of the street, okay? I'm hanging on to it.
But the best thing is never to have any entanglements at all.
Ah, and that's the good thing, because I drive around with my private license plate.
And they see you coming.
Oh, but the thing is, Remember, no encounter is a win, right?
Right.
There have been no encounters.
There you go.
None.
Yeah.
None. Zero.
Like you mentioned, you went into that store and there was a cop across the street, and when you came out, he was gone.
He was gone. I watched him drive. I was in the store cashing out, and I watched him drive away. I'm like, well, geez, he wouldn't even wait for me to come out. He's just gone. So, I mean, but that's, you have to decide. It's all up to you, you know. I mean, I've decided to do, I'm not the only one who does this, okay? And it's, and we don't do it with any ill intent. None at all, as a matter of fact. It's just the opposite. Okay, we do it usually for necessity, because we need that. We need that to do our daily things to survive, right? So, yeah, no, there's no ill intent. It's mens rea, right? If there's criminal intent, then you get a problem. But there is none. And that's the whole idea.
Yeah, without the intent, then there's lots of ways to get around it. Whether you actually want to do that or not is another question.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of ways around it. But the basic thing, I mean, first and foremost, just shut up. Don't say anything. Just say, I'm sorry, I have Fifth Amendment rights, and I refuse to answer any questions based on that. So, do whatever you want to with that. And the last time I had him on no jurisdiction. So, if I had him the last time on it, it's going to stick. I've got him every time now.
Yeah, but you're a special case. You're not a citizen of the United States anymore. So.
He's a special case guy.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
You don't really have a place to live here.
Define live.
Yeah, okay. Uh-huh.
You see, my body is a vessel. And this body is the vessel that carries my soul around, right?
USS Papa Bear is what it is.
And you are the captain of your own ship.
Yeah, and there's a deed to that vessel or this estate, because it does take up property, it does take up area. And I've claimed that deed. And I own this estate. And where do I live? I live inside this body. But if you want to know geographically where I live, wherever my body goes. I mean, nowhere have I arrived dead.
Are you sure?
Not that I can remember. I mean, I haven't read about it. No one ever told me about it. I said, geez, remember the time you died? Well, no.
Well, you know, the Mandela effect and all that may have happened.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I died when I hit the
I'm tired
bridge.
of hearing about this Mandela effect. My God, come on, really?
Yeah.
Did this guy die or did he not? Come on.
Yeah.
Depends on which dimension you're in.
Yeah.
Well, no, he actually did die, and the thing of it is that it doesn't take rocket science. It's no big. It doesn't need some lengthy explanation. He was on life support. His family got a court order to allow them to take him off life support. He died. They retracted the statement. Then they said he got better and went home. Wait a minute. He was on life support. He got better and went home.
Right. Miracle. Cut it for frick out.
No, he died, and they put him downstairs in the morgue, and they kept him on ice for 6 months, or for 5 more months.
Yeah, right.
So what's the rocket science in that? He didn't die twice. He died
resurrected
once.
death. Yes.
They just changed his actual date of death.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Come on.
They wanted to make sure that he was cold before they went and signed the certificate, right? I guess.
But the question is, why did they do that? You see, that raises a whole bunch of other questions.
Probate.
And it's right during this time period. Well, remember what, as I said earlier, we tend to forget what happened yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So think about the timing. It's 2012, 12/21, 2012, the end of the Mayan Long Bok tune, except they got the date wrong. They forgot to calculate something. But we all have to, if they even made a stupid movie that 2012, with the end of the world scenario type situation. The world isn't going to end. The system of evil will.
It's about bullshit.
We're going to see some stuff, and we'll talk. We'll talk. Yeah, we're going to see some wild stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But the biggest problem that we are facing, the light's going out. Seriously, that's it. Shut the lights off, and you're going to change the complexion of the world.
Right.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Food doesn't grow, animals don't survive, we don't survive. I mean, that's common sense.
Yeah, if you're not self-sufficient, or if you're not in the process of becoming self-sufficient now, the lights go out a year from now. I guarantee you there will not be any more food in the stores. You're not going to be able to buy the food because they won't have computers in order to sell the food. They will actually have to set up government programs to feed us.
Yeah, and when that's down,
we're done like a dinner. Yeah.
when that's down, you're not going to be harvesting any crypto because it's going to be where you're going to get the data from.
Yeah,
where the frick did this crypto BS come from? Come on, are you kidding me? Carry on.
Cabal.
Yeah, so just one simple thing like shutting off the lights, an EMP, whether it's caused by the sun, whether it's caused by some rogue state launching a nuke, whether it's caused by a false flag attack by ourselves.
Yeah.
By our own stupid government, the deep state. Somebody gets the whole of a button and launches the right launch codes and sends one up.
Yeah,
a true EMP, electronically speaking, we're done. If you go by the, if you have to base yourself and your survival in regards to electronics, you're done.
Well, here's the sad part of it. We get a solar EMP that puts out the lights around the planet.
What I'm talking about, Pete. Carry on.
We've got over 400 Fukushimas on our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, get loud.
So, see, this is why I rat hole stuff, right? Like neodymium magnets and things like that.
Well, this is actually where it comes down to that. Where Jesus said it in the latter part of Matthew, the 24th chapter, he said, if it wasn't for the chosen ones, no flesh would be saved. But on account of the chosen ones, those days would be cut short.
Yeah.
So they're cut short at the end. So we're going to see things get pretty outrageous.
Oh, yeah.
And if we're not prepared, it could mean our lives.
Right.
You see, here's also where it comes into a matter of prayer. I just drew Marshall Masters. Marshall Masters. I respect Marshall. He's very sincere in what he does. Now, he's a Jewish guy. I have no issue with that, none whatsoever. Especially when he says that the people most likely to survive a lights out event or a pole shift event, a major event, will be spiritual Christians, not the people that go to church every Sunday.
Right.
The spiritual Christians, which is interesting because you go to Revelation 18, in Revelation 18:4, it says, "Get out of her, my people," speaking of Babylon the Great or religion, "get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share in her judgment."
All right. Now, Petey, let me ask you something. In regards to spiritual Christians, what might be the definition of that?
Very simple. A Christian who lives by the greatest commandment. Or I should say a person. But let's scrap the title Christian. A person who lives by the greatest commandment. What's the greatest commandment? You must love Yahweh your God with your whole heart, soul, and mind, and you must love your neighbor as you do yourself.
Right.
The act of love, as I said before, I didn't mention this before, did I? When we feel love, whether it's toward our dog, our car, our kids, our significant other, we are in a state of alpha. You cannot feel love in theta or delta or
gamma.
Yeah, you're certainly not going to. You're in panic mode in that. Yeah, I love you.
Yeah,
It's an emergency. I can't talk to you now. Bye.
Yeah. Sure. I'm out of here.
It's like.
Yeah, love you. Bye.
You're not going to feel much love if you're in beta or gamma. But in theta, we love making love in theta. That's where it happens. And so by the very act of love, now, if we have love for our Creator, what are we going to do? We're going to pray. They say there's no atheists in foxholes. So people are praying. So there's that spiritual connection. Now, while they might be scared as hell if they're praying in a foxhole, they're not pulling the trigger. They're in a state of alpha. They are not in a reactionary state of beta where they have to pull the trigger. There's the difference. So as long as we can keep our environment in alpha, whether through prayer or meditation, and I love that somebody asked the question a couple of days ago, should I pray or should I meditate? Both. Here's why. We are creators ourselves. So we draw our power from the Creator through prayer, use that power to create. It's that simple. We can't create something out of nothing. We have to draw the energy from the creative force itself and then let that mutate into what we want to create. And the way that we create is through our power of intention, what we intend to do. Not what we would like to do, not what we think we will do, what we intend to do. Here's
Peter, what do you see as being the Holy Trinity?
Oh, well, the church says it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, but there is no real Trinity. We're dealing with three individuals. The Trinity is actually that there were several triune gods within pagandom, and it was carried over. The original Trinity was Nimrod, Siriamus, and Tammuz.
Okay, what I was leading to is when you talk about intention, like our willful power is like whatever we think, whatever we feel, and the expression, therefore, of it.
I can give you a Trinity in a formula. How's that? And this isn't necessarily the Holy Trinity by any means, but it's a trinity of things that will work. There are three things that we need. Number one is the power of intention, what we intend to do. Number two is passion. How passionate are we about our intentions? Number three is love.
These things
how much love do we have? How much love do we have for what we are going to accomplish? Here's a secret. We can do anything that we do should be done to benefit ourselves and at least one other person. That's the key. Because if you can make somebody else happy, you make yourself happy. What's better to go on a trip, go on an adventure by yourself, or go on an adventure with somebody else?
Peter, I got a question from the chat room. JH wants to know if you have any thoughts on a safe place on Earth. And
Switzerland. Yeah.
If we want to be removed from the coming judgment on the U.S. And I told her, move away from the city. Get away from the city.
Cities are going to be death traps. Move the more least populated areas that there are, the better places to move to. However,
right, but
now
you want to consider community too.
Well, let's just break it down. Move to Maine. Move to Central Western Maine and enjoy life. There's a sign at the border.
Baby.
There's a sign at the border. It says "Life to Maine." Welcome to Maine. Life the way it should be. Simple.
Seriously, I'll tell you.
Maybe pushes that.
I'll give you a good hint about what's going on in Maine. Okay, I'm not in a city, but I'm in a small town. Okay, and I'm right downtown, right off Main Street. And this place, everybody around here has a sense of community. Everybody reaches out to help somebody else. You've got farmers out here. You've got, I mean, the trades galore, you know. Everybody seems to help everybody. It's a community thing. There are free meals here. It's a sense of community. And that's what's needed when times, you know, when it comes down to it, or if it comes down to it, if we get the SHTF scenario, you're going to want to be in a place where you're going to have multi-talents to be able to help each other out. Okay.
Barry, you are 100% correct. I was born and I lived in the New York City area, metropolitan area most of my life. But home was Western North Carolina up in the Smoky Mountains. I love the Smoky Mountains. Beautiful. I could just disappear on a mountaintop and just be all by myself, just observing life. However, and as far as the weather goes, I love that too, because the spring and falls were very long. You had about 4 months of each, and summer was 2 months, and winter was 2 months, and that worked out nicely too. So you had 4 seasons, but it was very moderate temperatures up in the mountains, and something was always blooming from the time that the dogwoods would come into bloom in the early spring until finally in the fall you'd see all the colors and all the leaves of the trees. A very beautiful area. However, there is no sense of community there.
Right.
Quite the opposite. As I mentioned earlier, I was a damn Yankee. They're still fighting the Civil War. And it's not just against Yankees, it's against Flatlanders.
Right.
See,
now,
are they,
also
Yankees
the question,
still fighting the Flatlanders?
Or are they literally just dealing with a bunch of people who haven't gotten over it? Because I feel like hatred is passed down. It's passed down.
I think they're still fighting. When I was I say they're still fighting the Civil War. When I was growing up there, they were still fighting the Civil War. How's that? And you know, it's like, is the South going to rise again? Oh, it sure as hell is going to rise again. I was like, okay, well, what's it going to fight this time? You know, okay.
But the question,
whatever.
The question is there some sort of incoming judgment on the U.S.?
Well, yeah, there's a judgment of, if you go to Revelation 19, it's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords shows up with the armies of heavens, and he proceeds to judge the nations of the earth.
Okay.
It's not just the U.S., so it's the nations of the earth.
U.S. itself. So it's not, it's not that the United States itself is
meteors.
But you can consider what's going on right now as a minor judgment. I mean, it's a judgment. Here's the thing. And I have to admire Alfred Weber, because he actually figured it out. He found the loophole. In every law, there's a loophole. And there's two loopholes. There's one in the Hebrew scriptures, and there's another one in the Christian Greek scriptures, or the New Testament. And it's the ability to sue for peace. Now, in order to sue for peace, you have to comply with those who are about to conquer you. And it's laid out right there. I forget the exact book that it's in, but Jesus himself, it might even be right in Matthew the 24th chapter, talks about when one king will send out to see what the strength is of another king that he fears might be coming to attack him, and if he feels that he cannot defeat him, he will sue for peace.
Right.
And so that's the whole thing. The United States, every country technically could sue for peace. And in order to accomplish that, it would have to get rid of the satanic empire controlling it.
Right. Now,
so there you go.
Are we Babylon the Great?
No, we are not Babylon the Great. Now here's the interesting thing. You go to Revelation 17 and 18. Remember, I said beasts are governments, horns are kingdoms.
Okay.
Babylon the Great's a harlot. She's referred to as a city. Jerusalem is also referred to, as a matter of fact, is it in the Book of Amos? It always talks about a whole about two wives which the prophet was told to marry, and they were both whores. One symbolized Israel, the other one symbolized Judea, where they both left the word of Yahweh and started taking up relationships with other gods, mostly Baal or Molech worship.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. Here we have this woman who is a harlot. Why is she a harlot? Because she
likes it.
She likes it. She fornicates herself with the kings of the earth. She commits. The scripture says quite plainly that she commits fornication with the nations of the earth, and so she gets involved in their affairs, just like we saw the Pope getting involved in the United States affairs back in September 2015 when he was standing in America's holy places.
Right.
So there's the whore of Babylon, not the Pope himself, but the Vatican itself, Christendom itself, if you want to call it that.
Right.
And when we look at the Vatican, what do we see? We see the penis of Ra standing right in St. Peter's Square, the Egyptian obelisk.
Right. Hey, we've got to take this break.
So think about that. As we take the break, we'll be back.
Okay. You're listening to Show Us, Don't Tell Us on the LNM Radio Network. We'll be right back.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
The LNM Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the LNM Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others. and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
bensound.com doing the music here. What's that about? Something about this psychedelic music I like. I don't know. Anyway, welcome back to Show Us Don't Tell Us. I'm Papa Bear. Music by bensound.com. Catch us on lnmradionetwork.com, latenightinthe-midlands.com. We're also on the TuneIn radio app. Also the Paranormal radio app. And catch us on TalkStream Live. If you miss a broadcast, it'll be replayed 12 hours after the live airing time on the LNM Radio Network. And when I do the show, I archive them here at on YouTube at username What's Out There, so you can watch that. Actually, this one here. And if you are there, or if you go there, don't forget, like, subscribe, share, please. And, or you don't have to, it doesn't matter. But any attention we get is good attention. Anyway, welcome back, gentlemen. We're back from the break.
Welcome back, guys and gals. And I'll tell you what, if you get a chance, listen to Papa Bear and Peter Kling Wednesdays, I believe it is 11 to noon Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. And then Papa has this same show, 11 to noon, through the couple days after that. And when you guys get a chance, if you do indeed get a chance, a $5 donation to L&M Radio will give you a boatload of archives. You thought the Britannica Encyclopedia when you were a kid was huge? Well, I'll tell you what, man, you can look that up. There's so much information, you won't even have time to get through it all. Anyways, welcome back. I believe we currently have Jess and also the Peter Kling guy. Welcome back, guys.
And we also have a caller from area code 901. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, guys, it's Wade.
Wade?
It's Wade. How you doing, brother?
Well, I'm doing better than I was earlier today.
Well, welcome to Show.
I was just recently had to come back to the hospital and get 2 transfusions because my hemoglobin was way down. And they wanted to do a colonoscopy to see if I was bleeding internally, and they found a polyp that probably is the cause of the problem, so they're going to have to do surgery probably Monday. They got me on liquid diet right now, and God knows, I'm going to tell you, that prepping for that colonoscopy was, it's horrible.
Pain in the butt?
Yeah, you drink a gallon of this lemon-flavored stuff, and you don't do anything but poop all night. I mean, it's bad. But
great poop
if you, but you, I'll tell you something. People out there listening, if your husband or your wife tells you to get a colonoscopy, you better listen to them because they probably know something you don't.
Yeah.
My wife stayed on my rear end about that, and she kept telling me, I need a colonoscopy. Oh, no, I don't. Yes, you do. You hadn't had one in 11 years. Well, yeah, I do.
So how far?
In regards to that, guys, I recall a buddy of mine had one of those done, and he went into the doctor's office, and he asked the doctor, he says, hey, doc, and the doc says, you need to remove your drawers. He says, well, where would you like me to put him? He says, well, next to mine.
Yeah.
They're going to send you out to California.
I got to ask you a question.
You're lame.
What kind of scope are you actually going to get through your whole colon? Seriously. There is none.
Well, I don't know about the whole part, but they found it somewhere in there. So
they'll only get part of it.
Maybe.
And chances are, when they go in there poking and prodding, they're going to damage it when they're in there. I don't think a colonoscopy is a good idea, but that's just me. They've already proven that mammograms are no good.
Biopsies are no good.
I can say one thing.
Definitely.
The blood's going somewhere in my body, and I got to figure out where. Because it is causing me to be dizzy and off balance. And they said as low as mine was when I came in Thursday, that if I had gone on about another day or two and lost enough blood, I would have been unconscious somewhere, and I'd have been at home laying on the floor, and my wife probably would have found me. So, I was like a dead man walking.
Right.
So in my case, it's a little bit different.
If I may, I get it, okay? I mean, you don't have to go through the full colon is what I'm saying. If you're having problems inside, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
There are times, as much as I hate the doctors, there are times that you need them. You need them for something something's gone wrong. I'm not a hypochondriac by any means, but I've been busted up enough times to appreciate having a good surgeon. So,
Peter, you understand what I'm talking about. There's times when you need help, and you need the pharmacy and the doctors and the hospital, and there's other times when they're invading in your life. So you have to find a balance.
I'll give you a prime example. In 2008, it was, it's 2007. I went to one doctor. He just wasn't helping me. And in October 2008, I was losing literally, after battling to keep weight on my body, I had lost a pile of weight already, but I'd lost 28 pounds in 30 days. You want to talk about a Jenny Craig diet? It's got nothing on a Peter Kling diet, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop the weight loss. And I literally stepped out of the shower one morning and I looked in the mirror and I saw a dead friend staring back at me. And I was like, I got to switch doctors. Well, I called up my original doctor, and this was October, the end of October. And they gave me an appointment in March. I said, I'll be dead by then. And I got the gal, the receptionist, was all upset, and she said, well, let me talk to the doctor. I'll call you back. And she calls back about 20 minutes later. She said, the doctor said if the symptoms persist, to go to the emergency room. If I could have reached over the phone and strangled somebody at that point, I would have, because this doctor had been treating me for the last year. What do you mean if they persist? So I finally calmed down. I think that was like on a Thursday afternoon. I called them up, and Monday morning I called a whole group over in New York. And there was six gastroenterologists in one group. I said, if one of those dummies can't figure it out, I'm in deep trouble. And it took 4 more months to figure it out, exactly what was wrong. And then they sent me to another doctor who was a surgeon. They said, hey, and my doctor was upfront and honest, and I appreciated this. He said, I do about 10 or 12 of these operations a year. I'd rather send you to somebody who does about 70 or 80 a year. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate that. You're not going to experiment on me. Sharpen your skills. Send me to somebody who's got their skills already sharpened.
Yeah, go to the frequent flyers go.
Yeah, and so that's where it all led. But still, it was a fantastically great ordeal. By the time they figured it, it was a 4-month ordeal. By the time they figured it out that I actually needed to have surgery. Right. And, sometimes we're just tied into the system. If I didn't get that help, I wouldn't be here now. That much I can tell you.
See, that's pretty much what happened with me. I had a doctor that I went to after the stroke in January, when I had my first big one. And he was too busy playing on his phone. They didn't do any blood work. Come back in 4 months. Okay, I left. I told my wife, I said, I'm not getting any help. She said, you need to switch doctors. Well, I switched doctors. Last Monday, I went to the new doctor and saw him. They did blood work. They did urine sample. They did EKG. They everything you're supposed to do. And then kid told me, we'll come back in next. His office called, said, come in next week. So I went in Wednesday. Wednesday morning, he told me, he said, you don't look right. He said, we may need to do a blood transfusion. Well, I knew Wednesday morning this was possible. They called me right at 24 hours the next morning on Thursday and said, get to the hospital and get a transfusion. His office was on top of it. The other guy just wanted to play on his telephone. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes you need to shake up the system, or you need to find a new doctor.
And
now has your best interest in mind.
Here's the flip side of the doctor situation. November 2011, I started getting this growth on the side of my neck. Now, my father died of cancer, and so did my grandfather. So here I've got this growth on the side of my neck, and it starts getting large quite quickly. So after about 5 days, I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to take a trip to the hospital. Went to the hospital. They assigned me an oncologist. They turned around and they drained the swelling on it. And the doctor said, we really want to do a biopsy to make, be sure it's not cancerous, because it looks cancerous. And I said, nah, let's just leave it alone and see if it grows on me. That's literally what I told him. And he didn't like that response too much. So the next day, I was in the hospital for all of 3 days, 3.5 days, just about. The second day, I get another doctor that comes in. He reads my chart, so looks at me, says, "We really want to do a biopsy on this, just to be sure, that it's not cancerous." I said, "Nah, let's just leave it alone and see if it grows on me." The third day, a doctor comes in, reads my charts, and he says, "You really need a biopsy on this." And I said, "Doc,"
and that you told him to stick up his ass.
Just about. I said, "Doc, and I know that if it's cancerous and you do a biopsy, that you can release a bunch of cancer cells throughout my body, and then I'm screwed." Yeah. I said, "Let's just leave this alone and see if it grows on me." And he was kind of frustrated. This is the third doctor that they sent in that wants to do a biopsy, thinking I'm going to change my mind. He didn't say a word. He never said a word. All he said was, "Okay, let me listen to you." He put his stethoscope on, listen to my chest, listen to my back, sign my release, and I was on my way. I got home.
You had him off. You had him off balance.
Yep. The first thing I did when I got home is I poured a glass of water, put a teaspoon of baking soda in it, mixed it up, and drank it, and started changing my body pH. And then I started making my own medicine, and I'm still here. And people say, "Well, did you have cancer?" I don't know, but I don't have it now.
Right. I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying that there's no place in society for hospitals and doctors and things like that. On the contrary, they do have their good points. Okay?
Right. Carry on.
Absolutely. You've got your emergency services that you need. Absolutely. I get it.
However, like Pete and I say, carry on.
However, there are certain procedures that are unnecessary.
Plenty of ambulance trips, so I appreciate the medical profession. Yes, however, we have to use discernment. You broke something, you got a pain somewhere, you can't. Yeah, go see a doctor. I'm not a person that goes in because I have a toenail that's got a hangnail somewhere.
Right.
What I'm saying is there are certain procedures that are recommended that are definitely not necessary and should not be recommended because they're harmful.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. It's just like the medication. I hate pharmaceutical advertisements on TV. I'm glad I don't have a TV to watch them anymore.
Why don't they just tell you you're going to die? Those are your potential... that's the potential scenario. You're going to die. Forget all this. Yes.
Yeah, take this pill. It'll either cure the symptoms or kill you. You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know. I mean, who gets out alive?
Give me the frickin' cliff notes in regards to this medication. Come on, man. Really?
Even Rockefeller died, you know.
Here's the thing.
That's amazing. After what? He was close to how many heart transplants? Get the frick out of here. Anyways, carry on, Pete.
I was going to say, stay as far away as you can from processed food. Seriously. Try to eat as healthy as possible without driving yourself nuts. I'm not saying become vegan. All things in moderation. I'm not here to tell you how to eat, how to take care of yourself medically. We all have different situations. Hey, if you're a diabetic, if you've got a special medical condition, if you've got to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, hey, go do it. Go do it if you feel it's necessary. Don't get roped into the medical professions. Oh, we got to give you a pill for this. We got to give you a pill for that. You need this vaccine, that vaccine, the other vaccine. By the time you're done, you got a bathroom cabinet full of pills, and you're taking a half a dozen a day. Because they had me actually taking, let's see, at one time, 4, 6. They had me taking 6 to 8 pills a day. What are you guys, nuts? Yeah, right. I threw all that crap away.
You know, funny you should mention that, Peter, because when they called me, I was 2 bites into a veggie burger.
You know, I don't care. I don't care if you love to eat hot dogs. Don't eat them every day. You know,
right?
Within moderation, Peter, I might say.
Yeah. You know, all things in moderation. It's just that simple. You know,
and no knock on the veggie burgers, but they are a little bit dry. So, I mean, you got to get used to what it is. But like you said, change your diet. Cut out the soda pops. That's a big thing right there. I found out since I had the stroke in January, I cut out the soda pops and went to Kroger sparkling water, which has sucralose in it. And those things were basically about 70, 80 cents. And they taste pretty much like a soft drink. The blood orange, the lemon lime. And you drink the sparkling water with the flavor in it, and you don't want a soda pop anymore. I mean, I don't have a desire to grab a Coke or Dr. Pepper or Pepsi anymore. So you learn to just switch your what's just your system.
I will not eat anything with the word "die" in it. If you're, seriously, I won't.
Well, have you thought about this? The word diet, the first 3 words are DIE.
Yeah, that's why I said I won't eat anything.
Go figure. That'll make you run the other direction real quick.
If
it says diet, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. You see, what we need to do is not go on a diet. Change our eating habits. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Change our eating habits.
Eat more vegetables.
Bob will
eat
tell
more
you,
fruit.
you are what you eat. They'll tell you that.
You know, and
we're not gonna go there.
I'm dying, you tell me.
You know, in my case, in my case, I'm literally held together by pieces of plastic internally, and so there's certain things I just can't eat, and I wouldn't even try to eat it because they would just create an issue. But on the other hand, there are things that I enjoy eating a lot. So, you know, whatever works for you.
Ukrainian.
But by the same token, like me, I'm diabetic, and I've learned to cut out the breads. I've learned to cut out the rice. I've learned to cut out the potatoes. Rice, potatoes, and bread are 3 things that right there will run your blood sugar sky high.
Well, of course they will.
So you have to.
They're carbohydrates. They turn into sugar in the body. Hello.
Right.
And you're already dealing with
you learn to cut that stuff out, and you eat a little. And if you get, like, say, rice and potatoes with the same meal, eat a little bit of both, or eat one and leave the other alone. So you learn, and you go to places where they serve the bread, like Olive Garden breadsticks, or they bring out the rolls. You learn to leave that stuff alone.
Carbohydrates.
Eat your meal, forget the bread.
Carbohydrates turn into sugar in the body.
Yeah, you're actually better off eating fats.
That's right.
Yeah. Here's the flip side. Here's the flip side of this coin. When I was about 17, I had a friend, and his mother was into nutrition, but a pill for this, a vitamin for this, vitamins for that, vitamins for this. She got like a zillion different vitamins, and she was always sick. And I was like, wait a minute, you're always feeling ill, and you're taking like all these different vitamins. Maybe you ought to cut out the vitamins. Now, I'm not saying don't take vitamins. Take them when you need them. I don't take vitamins every day. As a matter of fact, I don't take vitamins. I eat bee pollen because it works for me.
Bee pollen's good.
Yeah. I get fresh bee pollen, and I keep it frozen, and then I'll take out what I need and keep it in the refrigerator. And a tablespoon. I love fresh bee pollen. It's delicious.
It's loaded with antioxidants. It cleans out the blood vessels, keeps the heart pumping young. Oh yeah, it's really good stuff.
Excellent.
I still have yet to try this. A slice of onion under each foot in a sock.
Do it.
I should try it. I never have.
Hey, let me know what your wife says tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
There are actually
almost 30 years of marriage. Yeah, now, you finish the rest of that story.
The morning doesn't matter.
I've never tried it.
There are
that doesn't matter, Papa. You're correct. Yeah.
Are you even still in the same bed? I mean.
Yeah, he gets into bed with Lady D tonight with onions on his feet. She smells them. She says, "What's that smell? Did you fart?" He's like, "Oh no, that wasn't me. That was the onions."
Yeah, see you, baby.
Yeah. Could be worse. You could put garlic down there.
We had living in the mountains of North Carolina, and anybody living down that way would know this. We had this wild herb called ramps.
All right.
And a ramp was like a cross between garlic and onion. Grew wild in the mountains. Yeah, it grew wild through a large part of that area.
Let me ask you, what did it smell more like? Onion or garlic?
Yeah, it smelled like both of them.
That's not the answer.
And extremely potent. The only time I ever remember my dad sleeping on the couch is when he ate ramps. If you ate ramps and went to school, they would send you home. Seriously. Yeah.
The old lady,
I never ate
get the frick out of here. Are you kidding me? Really?
Peter.
I've never eaten ramps, so I can't tell you what they taste like. I can only tell you what they smell like.
You went through some weight loss? Peter?
Yes.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Weight loss? You lost weight?
Oh, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, one time willingly and the other time not willingly.
Okay.
And it was...
Divorce will make you lose weight. Carry on, Peter.
Yeah.
No, well, actually, it wasn't so much divorce, but it was I was in a car accident and wound up in a wheelchair. Yeah. So... I put on a little weight in the wheelchair.
Yeah, it wasn't divorce. It was just separation. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, it was separation of my knee in 3 different places.
Separation of the weight from you. But anyway.
Yeah, but sitting over.
I got 5 different directions here. Carry on. Oh my God, really?
Yes, so I wasn't getting any exercise, and I didn't change my eating habits.
In a wheelchair.
Yeah, I learned to do tricks in the wheelchair after a while, but that was about all the exercise I was getting. And, I went from I like to be about 170, 175. I like 175. I was about 180.
How tall are you, Pete?
6
How tall, Pete?
6 foot.
All right.
Anyway.
Actually, 185. You're good to go. Carry on.
Yeah. I got up over 200. And so it was like, I gotta stop this. So I stopped eating a sleeve of cookies and a half a gallon of ice cream every night.
Yeah, whoops. Yeah, the cat's out of the bag now. Listen to him.
I've
Yes,
yet to
I changed my eating style, but here's the interesting thing. My first trip to Ukraine. This is when I really noticed it. My first trip to Ukraine was in 2004, and I could walk again. I'll hobble a little bit anyway, but over there they were just starting to get McDonald's. I think there's like 2 McDonald's in all of Kiev. Yeah, if you wanted fast food, somebody's babushka got up 4 hours ago and started cooking it. You go to a restaurant and wait an hour for the appetizer to come out. Well, not quite that bad, but you could wait an hour before you would actually get your meal because they would cook it up fresh. And so just the change in diet over there, I was eating so much fresh food, and including quite a bit of caviar and vodka, but that should put some weight on you. I was over there for a month, and I wound up losing just about 20 pounds. I went from 200 down to 180 when I came back.
That's because of the non-GMO food.
Yeah, everything over there is fresh.
Yeah,
I would go down to I would shop in 2 places. One was like a mini supermarket, but the other place was a fresh market, and you could buy fish.
The women are free fruit.
Yep, you could get everything in that place from. Just keep on going there.
Pete.
That's Pete's weakness. Those Ukrainian gals. And in all sincerity, what were you originally shopping for? Come on, Petey.
I think you just covered that subject. Go ahead. Yes,
clams.
What was that before you wrote the Letters to Earth book, or was that after?
No, it was actually before. I was told. I wound up. Strangely enough, I decided to go to Ukraine on basically a whim, and I set the whole thing up in sequence. I got my passport renewed. I got my plane tickets. I had my hotel. I had to get my visa, and my passport and visa came 45 minutes before I was ready to go out the door to go to the airport. That's how well everything came together, but. It was about 4 or 5 days before I was ready to leave, and I have the news on, and they're showing revolution in Ukraine, in Kiev, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going there this week.
I don't want to go there. Game over.
I called up
vacation
my contact.
hotspot.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, right.
I called up my contact over there, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. You can walk a block over one way or a block the other way. You can walk right around the whole demonstration. It's not an issue." And I said, "You sure?" He said, "Yeah, it's totally peaceful. You don't have to worry about it." And I was like, "Okay, well, here we go." So off I went, and I had a fantastic time there. I spent 4 weeks in the middle of a revolution. And I learned all about, the Ukrainian people. And the Ukrainian people are really great people. They're fun-loving, party-hardy people. I was over there for Christmas, the new election of the president, and New Year's, and it was fireworks and drinking all 3 times. And it was just one big party. And I mean,
hate it when that happens.
Independence Square at 1:30, January 1st, 1:30 in the morning, was literally covered in bottles.
As long as you're not following a yellow brick road, Peter.
Yeah, seriously.
When I was a child,
kind of sounds like here: hold my beer, hold my vodka, and watch this firework go off.
Yep, exactly.
Right across the street from my grandmother was a Ukrainian couple, an older couple from Ukraine. And the little woman, the couple, Detail was their last name, Mr. and Mrs. Detail. Awesome people. And she used to love me and my cousin. She'd say, "Come on over." She's going to make blintzes. Blintzes was the big thing, But they had the heavy accent, and Caught him out in the grass out in the field one day, buck-ass naked, trying to get a tan on his butt, I guess. I don't know. But oh, man.
But that was a sight to see.
Yeah, then they sold it, and it's a beautiful old farm. It really is. Old house.
Well, I'll tell you, I wanted to see the people that we were supposed to hate and want dead. Remember, better dead than red. Russia was a little bit too big, so I went to Ukraine, and it was about into the third week of that trip. I had one gal. She I used a couple of translators, but this one girl in particular, her name was Oksana, or is Oksana. She had spent 18 months in the United States in Florida as an exchange student, so she could speak English very well, and she knew a decent amount about American culture. So we could talk and tell. We had, and let me tell you something. The young people over in Ukraine, brilliant minds they've got, and they love to talk to people from America. They love Americans over there. They love people from all over. Yeah. But the young people, you can talk to meet them in the street, start a conversation. They'll chat with you, and they're more than happy to use their English skills. They got somebody, they almost everybody when I was over there, in their early 20s and younger, all spoke English because they all learned it in school.
Right. That's what my next question was. Carry on. Yep.
Yeah. They also learned classical music. They learned classical poetry, the classic writings. So when they graduate what is their high school over there, they're pretty well-rounded individuals. That they know a second language. Usually most of them speak two other languages besides Russian or Ukrainian. So you got a group of people that's going to speak at least 3 languages: Russian, Ukrainian, and English, and some other language more than likely. And so they love to party. Probably the reason is because Ukraine's an interesting place. It's right smack in the middle of almost every war that's ever been carried out, from Jason and the Argonauts looking for the Golden Fleece. So, just think the genetic diversity in Ukraine is phenomenal, and the people are just fun-loving people. That they enjoy life, and yet one time we were supposed to see all these people dead. It's like incredible. When I saw the revolution break out in 2013. I knew something was wrong right away because there was violence. There was no violence whatsoever. It was one big party in 2004, and now all of a sudden they're throwing rocks and people are getting shot, and then all of a sudden Independence Square. I looked at the building where my apartment was in. It's totally burned out. Come on, what's going on here? This is not Ukrainian people.
When I hear fleece, I think
Let me guess. They were putting in a bank system somewhere.
No, what was actually happening, and this became quite obvious. My first trip, as I said, was 2004. My last trip was 2008. And in that time period, I saw major investments being made by European and American banksters. And they put Ukraine into debt between 2004 and from the time of 2004. But by the time 2008 came around, actually 2007, Ukraine couldn't pay their debt. They were defaulting. And so they were going to renegotiate their debt and with the European banksters. And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll renegotiate your debt if you borrow another $150 million, borrow another $150 million, and earmark that money directly toward AIDS education, which meant that $100 million of that was going to go into in a lot of people's pockets, and about $50 million may have made it to AIDS education. Maybe. One of the most corrupt, whoever has the money is going to get the country. And so what Putin was trying to do was to break the bankster death grip that they had on Ukraine and driving it deeper into debt. He was trying to get them out of debt, pay down that debt, and do what he did in Russia, get the banksters out of the country. And so that's why we had this revolution break out in 2013.
Putin paid off their debt. They got rid of the World Bank, and that took care of that. They wanted to bail out Ukraine, and the EU said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
the World Bank said, no, you can't do it. They're going to use our money. So now all of a sudden it came down to whose money are you going to use? All right, and this is the only reason why they say Russia is hostile and Iran is hostile, and all these hostile countries are the ones that are not on the World Bank. Okay.
Ones that refuse to change to their system.
That's right.
They still operate on
matter. The World Bank is going away
and
anyway.
silver and all the other.
It doesn't matter. The World Bank. The World Bank is going away anyway. It's pretty much gone.
Here's something I said when Trump first entered the presidential candidacy. I said that Trump is going to become president, and that this investigation would happen, this would all be exposed. But the other thing that I said, if Trump, Putin, and Z ever wind up in the same room together, they can change the world. That happened in November of 2017.
Right.
Now, when was the last time North Korea fired a missile? November 2017. Yeah, that deal's a done deal, allegedly. We'll see what happens.
That's right. There's a reason why Google set up down there.
Yeah. North Korea, South Korea is just going to become Korea. And the royal family might get back the throne. So we'll see what happens there.
But the thing is, Trump is also pushing the separation of the nations, okay? He says that's why we say America first, and China says China first, and Russia says Russia first, okay? It's their country first. That is the separation that Trump is making that pulls it away from the New World Order, the one world government, okay? And that's the big deal right there. But
yes,
the thing is, what does make it somewhat worldwide is there's no worldwide government, but there would be a worldwide currency. And this is what Trump was talking about when he said there was no world anthem, there's no world flag, and there's no world money. And what he did realize was that the American dollar was going to lose its status as the currency for trading. Okay, I mean, come on. For the longest time, you could only buy oil in dollars. Well, now everything is going into a basket of currencies, and the dollar has to compete in that currencies. And when you have gold and silver-backed currencies, the dollar is not going to go into that basket.
It can't go in there and try to compete.
That's correct.
Yes.
Because we'll fleece them for all their gold, and they know it.
Now, right now, the dollar is holding its own against the Chinese yuan, which is gold-backed currency. It's actually 6.7 yuan to a dollar. I checked earlier in the show. Anyway.
And how much is 1 yuan weigh?
Well, you're looking at about you're looking at 18 cents, roughly, 17 cents. I didn't calculate it, but there's not a whole lot of gold backing. My point is there's not a whole lot of gold backing it. However, there is gold backing it.
Right.
Okay.
No matter how little.
And all you have is backing the dollar is there. And then you've got cryptocurrency, which is backed by what? Computers, which suck up electricity at an astronomical rate.
That's where Bitcoin wants to change over to gold backing.
Well, you see, here's the problem with cryptocurrency.
But it's going to go through the changeover, and that'll be after the dirty money's gone.
Barry, this is going to sound strange, but the only people that are making money in cryptocurrency are the electric companies.
Yeah.
The amount of electricity, this is going when I came across this was, I think, December believe it was in December.
Well, think about it, Peter. Mining Bitcoins, carry on.
Mining Bitcoins, the amount of electricity used since Bitcoin was invented, the amount of electricity used to mine Bitcoin would take every nuclear power plant in the United States over 5 years to generate, being dedicated totally to the mining of Bitcoin. Think about that.
How long have you been mining Bitcoin?
My son had done it back in the day, and it's like, man, my electric bill was through the roof. Cut it out. Done.
Yeah.
See ya. Game over. I'm putting the bill. Done.
How much money are you going to make when your electric bill is astronomical?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, they've got whole Bitcoin farms set up in places where they can get cheap electricity.
The best thing you could have done was sell it when it went up to 12,000. That's
or 20.
Bitcoin. That's where Bitcoin was. You know, when it hit its peak, bail.
Do you realize what it takes to obtain a Bitcoin if you have groups of people and trying to mine these?
No.
Groups of people. Oh man. And who's going to slice and dice that up? How do you slice and dice up cryptocurrency? Oh, hey, you get your 5%, you get your 10%. Get the frick out of here. Right. What do you do with it?
Right.
You know, for the time and money that you have to invest in it, you're better off taking that and putting it into gold or silver coin.
Yeah, no kidding, Pete. Hello. Yeah.
You know,
hey,
if you think you're going to get rich on Bitcoin, go ahead, help yourself. I used to trade commodities.
It's not in your hand, Peter. It's not in your hand. Stu Shear. Well, a shout out to Stu Shear, Money and Change. It's not in your hand. Carry on.
Barry, I used to trade commodities, and let me tell you something. You need a gut of iron to trade commodities. And
yeah, buddy, it's a broker. Yep.
I would trade commodities all day long before I would touch Bitcoin. I mean, I saw Bitcoin when it was $180, and I was like, I don't think so. And I saw Bitcoin when it was $20,000, and I said, you know what? It doesn't break my heart one bit that I didn't buy it at 180.
Commodities are renewables.
You know, the worst case scenario is if you're controlling a contract of corn, the worst case scenario is you might have to accept that contract for about $26,000. But then you'll have a couple of train loads of corn.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to eat with Bitcoin?
Yeah. Right.
You know, so that's the worst case scenario. Or you know, eventually you get wiped out in commodities, whatever. It's just one of those. But I would trade commodities 20 times over before I would ever start trading Bitcoin. And they're trading Bitcoins on the commodity market. Not me. Would never, ever touch it. Don't have any regrets about not getting involved in it. So.
That's right.
Yep. And I'd rather invest my dollars where I can see the return that I want from them.
Right.
And so I've invested it in property and building an off the grid house. You know, here's the situation, and I don't want to put the fear of hell into anybody, because hell doesn't exist regardless, or the fear of God, maybe the fear of God, the fear of Yahweh.
Right.
We all look to this Jesus Christ character who laid down his life, gave his life for our sins. What? Because we couldn't keep our, you know what, where? Christ died because we're immoral people? No. He died to ransom back what Adam had lost. Adam was created as a physical God. He had, what's not discussed in Genesis is the powers that they had, because they were just getting started. But what we have is the powers that Jesus had. He could even raise the dead, change water to wine, cure the sick, walk on the water. You know, he fed thousands with leftovers. He had God-like capabilities. Now, it would take a God to ransom back what a God lost, which would make us what? Gods. Now, I can't say that all the Rh negative people are God's children, or all the Rh positive people. Our genes have been so interbred over the last 6,000 years, it's hard to say who's what, and maybe there is a connection to the Rh negative. But the fact is, if you're human, you're carrying genes. Yeah, I'm Rh negative. My children's mother is Rh negative. My parents were both Rh negative. So I don't know what to say. I haven't looked into it enough. I know I'm Rh negative. I can't tell you my blood type. I think it's AB. But regardless,
I'm O negative. I'm the guy that gives to everybody. However, when it's my turn, I'm screwed.
I'll just keep my blood where it is, and because my blood doesn't belong to me. But within the blood goes the soul. The soul is within the blood, and that's why in Genesis we're told not to eat blood, and that when we're told, well, no, you can eat meat, you got to drain the blood out, because within the blood is the soul, and the soul belongs to Yahweh. And so there is that godlike connection. And what we as humans have not done, we have not claimed our rights. We have not claimed our true birthright of having that God connection. And without that, we're just sheeple, goyim cattle, a disposable commodity, one to be fed on by the satanic empire. Oh, what do you mean? You tell me where 8 million children go every year. Tell me why 35 million people a year are human trafficked around this planet. Number one money maker on this planet is drugs. Number two is human trafficking.
What's the remedy?
What's the remedy? Get rid of this satanic empire. You see, Trump might be trying to sue for peace. We don't know. But here's one thing that we do know, is that we are going to get this image of a world empire. We are going to be controlled by a world empire. And it could be very well through what is happening now. So we're going to have to watch how this plays out. But we have a ways to go yet. We've got to get the rest of disclosure out.
Right.
And things might get very alien looking around here. We don't know. We may have a religious experience by the time this is all over, but trust me, it's not based on any religious dogma or doctrine that's going to take place, because the King of Kings is coming back with the armies of heaven. Right. So how do you remove the satanic empire, which requires live child sacrifice? Via the armies of heaven.
That's right.
Or
I aren't going to do it.
Yeah, we're not going to do it.
Okay, we've got to start wrapping up here. We're in the last 10 minutes or so.
Hey, the whole thing is become as self-sufficient as possible. Get off the coastlines, seek higher elevations, and get away from the cities.
Yeah, well.
Beyond that, become a child of Yahweh. Follow the greatest commandment. Become that spiritual person, a spiritual leader. And I'm not talking about having that, quote, religious experience, being born again, think you're going to be raptured off the planet. Be part of the meek who inherit the earth. And with that, I'm going to say, read Letters to Earth. The future is yours. You can find it at barnesnoble.com, amazon.com. Ask your local book purveyor, or just look it up online. I'm sure you'll find it somewhere. And we've got Dr. Jason Rand and myself are doing a Tuesday night radio show right here on the Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. The Final Countdown, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, 6 Central. I guess that would make it then 5 Rocky Mountain Time and 4 Pacific Time. So come join us, listen to us. We try to cover everything that's happening on this planet, and there's plenty going on. With that, I'm going to say support the Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Make a donation. If everybody gave $1, we'd be on without any problem. Barry's, thank you very much for having me on. I do appreciate the time. Love and blessings to all. Have a fantastic night.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Petey. Take care, brother. And I love it. Barry's in plural scenario. I love it.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyways, take care, brother. I'll catch up with you, indeed. No doubt within my mind. Back to you, Papa.
Wade, do you have any final thoughts?
Just stay out of the hospital if you have to. But if you do need to go, please go. Don't wait. If you know your life is on the line, and they say get to the hospital immediately, drop everything and get there. In my case, it worked out. It was a necessary thing. And I'm glad that I switched doctors now, because had I not switched doctors, I probably would be here about a month from now.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
This is some. When you start losing blood, this is serious.
Right.
When you start stammering around, dizzy, crashing into walls, falling out of bed. Yeah, it gets pretty serious.
Right. All right. Well, you take care of yourself, Wade, and try to stay healthy. If you can.
I got to.
And try to get some healthy foods. Stay away from the GMOs if you can.
Well, they got me on a liquid diet till Monday, so I figure they'll keep me on that until they do the surgery. But after that, then it's back to normal. I have to. Screen my foods.
Right. All right, then. Good enough. Thank you for calling, Wade.
Love to everybody, and thanks, guys, for letting me come on.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Anytime, Wade. Take care, brother.
All right.
Jesse, you have any final thoughts?
Donate to L&M, keep the truth out there. Beyond that, everyone have a great weekend, and, pick up the phone, get involved, join the chat, join the conversation, get outside, do something for a friend, help someone out, take care of yourself and each other.
You get to know your neighbors, because you never know when you might need each other.
Exactly, and the way the future's going, it's probably going to be a lot sooner than later.
Well, it's always good to be prepared,
Mm-hmm. Never hurts.
Because you never know what's coming down the road. The future isn't etched in stone, not that we know of anyway. No, none of us can predict it that I know of. Right. And it's not promised to anyone either. So, like the Dalai Lama said, people prepare for the future, and they spend their lives preparing for the future, and they never live it. They never live in the present. They never live it. They spend so much time preparing that they never get to do it. So, and like I said, the future's not guaranteed to anybody. So, anyway. All right, Jesse, is that it?
That's pretty much it.
Very good, sir. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, no problem.
Skills, we missed.
Take care, brother.
We missed the Cleveland Corner tonight.
I know. How ironic that you should have indeed brought that up.
Yeah, I had to bring that up.
I'll get back to it, and I'll make this so very brief because we're on a time crunch. Corey Kluber, first game, comes out, man. 81 pitches, the full game, loses 2-0, right? He's currently carrying a 2.6 ERA, goes in for game 2 on his approach, and he didn't lose that one, but he didn't get the win. He's 0-2. He's carrying a 2.6 ERA. Unfreaking believable. The highlights are, however, guys and gals, are that Cleveland Indians had won their home opener last night, 3-2. Awesome. Now, my son and I are currently going to attend Sunday's game, and you might also just grab your pocketbook, and they have something called pop-up here behind home plate, a bacon on a stick. I don't currently know what this looks like and how much bacon, but I guarantee you're going to second mortgage your house to get your hands on this. Because when you go down there, you better have some cash in your pocket, baby. Otherwise, game over. Financially, game over.
Yeah,
see ya. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, Great Lakes Brewery. I love a good 20-ounce glass at Great Lakes, $12 a glass, 20 ounces. Oh, yeah. And that's what you're paying. Anyways, everybody, good heavens, that has been listening with Peter. And good heavens, we missed my Michael, that handsome Greek guy. We missed him. But hopefully he will indeed be next weekend. Otherwise, we have two engineers. It's like playing ping pong. Is it going to be Papa Bear or Michael? Well, Papa Bear has successfully engineered this whole program. Wonderful. He's an old hat at this, so it's tossed in his lap. Thank God I have that. Otherwise, if I didn't have you two guys, I would have nothing. You're not going to hear this stupid. You're not going to hear an ounce of anything falling out of the front of my pie hole without these two guys. Anyways, good heavens, everybody, thanks for listening, and there you have it, man. And thanks for Peter Kling and the callers. And back to you, Papa.
All right. Hey, listen, I just want to go ahead and mention that most of our break music here is done by Ben Sound at bensound.com. I got to put the plug in there. LNM Radio Network, latenightinthemidlands.com. There's a chat and listen room there. Please join us there. If you're not listening to the replay here and you want to catch this on YouTube, we do have the replays on YouTube at username What's Out There. It also has my daytime shows there. And if you miss a live broadcast, you can catch it on TalkStream Live. It will be replayed 12 hours after the live airing time on the LNM Radio Network. There, that pretty much gets the plugs out of the way. All right, I'm Papa Bear. This is Show Us, Don't Tell Us. Guys, I had a pretty good show. I enjoyed it. Some good information out there. And that's it. Thank you. Have a great night, and take care.
All righty, brothers. See me.
Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election. And it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there?